you cuss, young brother. All you cuss right up to him mother. Just because he didn't put the flag on the poster. He forget the Spice and Grenada. But how all you get patriotic so? And when the anthem play, is disrespect you don't show. But if you want to see we flag flying high, there are some little things all that we could try. Why don't you support local industries and buy from local businesses? And this little fly could keep we flag flying high. Don't just be vocal, eat and support local. And this little fly could keep we flag flying high. We don't need nobody to put up we flag for we. They can treat we emblem as rock. You mad? We have enough young brothers and sisters right here flying we flag. Listen, Mickey Rani, he's a young brother. Andre Fletcher, he's a young brother. Anna Kima, she's a young sister. Anderson Peters, he's a young brother. And we don't need no.
Member. Item 3, oath of allegiance or affirmation of a new member. 4, confirmation of minutes.
You have government business?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to everyone. I wish to move that the minutes of the proceedings of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Well, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 20th of January, 2026, at 9 a.m., be taken as read.
Honourable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, 20th January 2026, at 9 a.m., be taken as read. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the minutes of a proceeding of the sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Well, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 20th of January, 2026, at 9 a.m., be confirmed.
Honourable members, the question is that the minutes of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Well, St. George's, on Tuesday, January 20th, 2026, at 9 a.m. be confirmed. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. The minutes are confirmed.
Item 5, messages from the Governor General. Item 6, announcements by Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I I'm advised that the Honorable MP for Carriacou and PD Martinique is unable to join us at this sitting, and also the Honorable MP for South St. George is overseas on state business and as such won't be here for today's sitting. I wish to also inform this Honorable House that the Parliament did celebrate the traditions of Grenada as planned on February 5th as part of our independence anniversary celebrations, and it was well received. On that weekend, I know we had some famous names like the great Jennifer Hostin, who was the Miss World in, I think, 1970. She came calling, and so did several other persons. Today, February 7th, the world celebrates Analog to Digital TV Day. So, on the 17th of February, every year, the world celebrates the movement, the transition from analog TV to digital TV. So people who are listening in and watching this sitting of the Parliament must appreciate the transformation that we now experience when we look at TV. It was not always so. It was once black and white and very slow. Those are my announcements.
Item 7, presentation of petitions. Item 8, presentation of papers and reports from different committees. Item 9, unopposed private business. Item 10, questions.
The Leader of His Majesty Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to report that I received answers to some of the questions submitted. As a matter of fact, to be specific, 4 out of 11 questions, and those 11 questions do have 12 parts in total. So I received 4 answers, but of the 4 answers, Mr. Speaker, I wish to draw to your attention one of the answers that I'm very unclear about and would like to have some clarity soon is question 1. That question asks, what is the total amount spent to date on the completed Build Back Better houses? And the response to that question, Mr. Speaker, is Finance Department and or Payments Secretariat to provide this information. Now, I'm not sure what this means. I would expect that the information for all the questions would be coming from some department or the other. So what does that mean in the context of a response? I'm very much unclear. Is it that it is not yet available, it will come later? I'm not sure what this answer means.
Thank you, Honorable MP. I got from you that you did not receive all the responses to the questions asked, right? So my assumption is, you said just now that the response are coming from a ministry. Your last comment was, which ministry?
So this would have to be Ministry of Mobilization.
To provide those answers.
No, can I be clearer? So, Mr. Speaker, there are some questions. First set of questions, actually, Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation. So those I received answers for, with the exception of quite a strange answer for question number 1, which is what I just referred to.
Question number 1.
Right. Questions without answers.
No. I'm not going there. I want you to repeat the response to question number 1. That's what I want.
It says Finance Department and or Payment Secretariat to provide this information.
Okay.
So,
all right, thank you.
I'm not very clear on that.
All right, thank you. My assumption is the fact that you didn't receive all the answers to the questions is that you would get that answer forthcoming.
At the next sitting, thank you.
All right, let's proceed.
Item 11, urgent questions under the provisions of Standing Order number 21. Notice of questions.
Urgent questions? Oh no,
Sorry, Mr.
you got a question as well?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank
This
you.
is an old, long, outstanding question. It's not.
Okay.
It's urgent, but it's not a question that is being raised now. At the last sitting, Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
we did speak about it, and the minutes would show that you did commit to seeing how I can get some answers. I have not received any to date. Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Mouse.
Mess up infrastructure. All right, I would personally look into it, Honorable MP, because you say you have not received the answers, so it means that those answers are outstanding for a while. And I think you had also said that the answers could be provided written, right?
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Speaker.
So let me, after the sitting, ensure that you find the answers to those questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Please proceed. Oh, sorry. I wasn't seeing your light. Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to you and good morning to members of the House. Mr. Speaker, the questions from the Honourable Leader of His Majesty's Opposition, which were directed to me, I do have the answers to the questions and I will send them to the office momentarily. In relation, however, specifically to the questions that were asked by the Member of Parliament for St. Mark in relation to the Waltham land expansion project for the fishermen. If it has not started, can you please provide the reasons? And if it is not started, can you please provide information on the projected startup time? Mr. Speaker, I confess that having spoken extensively with the staff at the Ministry of Infrastructure, they are not aware of any such project, and I am not aware of any such project. No, we have no records of any such project. Well, they have not been able to find any records of any such project. Neither am I aware of any such project. I've asked the new Chief Technical Officer who's there to redouble his efforts to ascertain, both from the former Chief Technical Officer, whether or not they are aware of any such project. I could certainly say, speaking as Minister for Infrastructure, I'm not aware of any such project that has ever been approved by my administration. So I honestly just don't have any information on the Waltham project. So I can confirm that in writing as well after asking because there's a new CTO, out of an abundance of caution, I'm prepared to have him go back again and check, but as of the 20th of January, he's indicated there's no such information in the file at the ministry. And the same, so the other question, which is reference to the Victoria Hotel, that is in relation to police work. I can speak to that and I will provide that response in writing as well. And then the Redmond and Mongsini to Brothers Farm Roads. Similarly, certainly since I've been the Minister for Infrastructure, we have not approved any such project road for either Redmond or Mongsini. How do you pronounce it? Mongsini. But again, I will ask that they go back to verify, both from the road officers and from the contractual documents at the ministry, whether there's any contract in which anyone was contracted to actually do work on this. I can repeat hearsay, but I prefer not to do so in the context of saying apparently some work was started by somebody. Whether that work was ever approved by the Ministry of Infrastructure, whether it was contracted to, it's another matter. So that's the information I have at this time. So I just wanted to clarify that. The other questions, as I said, I have answers to them, and I'll be able to provide them in writing shortly. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes, go
Mr.
ahead.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to belabor the point, but I think it is important that I seek to put some clarity to this, because in the records would show that I think all of the questions were asked in November of 2023. And then the member for St. David, the Prime Minister, had an answer. There was a written answer from the ministry. And so 3 years hence, I find it strange that suddenly this has disappeared, matter from the records of the Ministry of Infrastructure. And these projects, as questioned and responded to, very surprisingly, but these projects, they had contracts. And so I also speak for the contractor who doesn't have a voice here, whose name I wouldn't mention here, but there was a signed contract for Waltham. I know the name of the person. He had mobilized already in early 2022. And then when the present government came into office, they advised him to put the work on hold. And so 3 years from there, the work is still on hold. There's a contract signed. And of course, there are liabilities involved for a signed contract that hasn't been honored. So I think it is incumbent upon our Prime Minister and the member for St. David to maybe, put a little bit of fire under the staff. There must be a contract somewhere. And, well, just for expediency, I can give the name of the contractor, but not, of course, not in public. I think I would rather give it to you in writing privately so that you can, investigate the matter and bring some kind of solution to this matter, because the fishermen at Waltham and in St. Marcus as a whole, they are suffering for a great need for a jetty. And this was the phase 1. And in addition to that, with not being able to export fish at this time, it just adds to the yellowfin tuna, it adds to their burden. So I hope that this can be really dealt with in appropriately. And likewise, the other 2 projects, contracts were signed with a company, which I will again provide the information. But I find it strange that nobody seems to know, because even if you change CEO or you change PSs, there are other technical persons who should have the institutional memory.
Yes.
This has just been erased from the face of the ministry. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
I suggest, Honorable MP, whatever information that you have that you can bring forward, right, so that the ministry will be able to zero in on it, whether it is through me or through the pertinent ministry, it will be appreciated. Honorable Prime Minister.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for your intervention. And yes, I support that, but I'm a little baffled, because if there's contractors who exist and they have contracts, then all you have to do is come to the appropriate ministry that they contracted with. So I am genuinely baffled, right? And I'm simply, I think we appreciate that as policymakers. I don't sign contracts.
Yeah.
Nor am I the repository of the contracts.
Yeah. So Honorable PM, that's why I advise her, and whatever information she has, bring it forth. So
but I'm making a further point, Mr. Speaker. I'm saying if a contractor exists and he's a contract with a particular government ministry, all the contractors do show up, present his contract, and the appropriate accountable officer will treat to the matter. And therefore, in fact, this would be quite easy, because from that perspective, then the accountable officer will then be able to brief me or whichever ministry it is, because obviously these contracts predated our entry into office, and then matter obviously would not have been in abeyance since 2002. So that's why I'm just making the point.
Got you. Please proceed.
Item 11, urgent questions under the provisions of Standing Order number 21. Item 12, statements by ministers.
Honorable MP for St. Andrew Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to provide an important and maybe very excited update to this Honorable House. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to officially welcome West Indies women and Sri Lankan women team to Grenada for the excited international series at the Grenada National Stadium. From February 20th to March 3rd, so from this Friday, our beautiful Tri-Island state will host 3 one-day international and 3 T20 international. 6 matches that place Grenada once again on the center of regional and international cricket. But Mr. Speaker, this series carries deeper meaning for us as a nation. It brings home our daughter. Afi Fletcher is not merely representing the West Indies women's cricket team, she is representing Lafayette in St. Andrew and every young person across Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique who dares to dream beyond circumstances. This is a historic moment. During the T20 leg of this series, Afi set to make her 100th T20 international appearance, a monumental milestone in any cricketer's career. Even more remarkable, Mr. Speaker, she needs just 2 wickets to reach a 100 T20 international wickets. Mr. Speaker, that is excellence, that is consistency, that is national pride embodied. Her presence on the field, wearing maroon in front of family, friends, and loved ones is the most powerful statement we could ever make about the heights of Grenadian can reach through dedication and discipline. This series is an inspiration to our young people. It's a motivation for our aspiring athletes. It's a reminder that global stages are accessible to Grenadian talent. I extend my gratitude to Cricket West Indies for selecting Grenada to host this crucial series. The confidence in our facilities and organizational capacity is sincerely appreciated. I also warmly welcome our visitors from Sri Lanka and wish them a competitive and enjoyable tour in Grenada. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to invite every Grenadian to come out and fill the stands. Bring the children, wear your maroon. Let us celebrate our West Indian woman. Let us rally behind Afi as she approaches 2 historic milestones on our home soil. Mr. Speaker, the matches are free, so just get your buses and get your trucks and come, let us celebrate. Let us witness history making together. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable MP. And we do wish the West Indies team, and of course our own Afi Fletcher, a very good series. Do you have government business?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too wish to make a brief statement just to update on renovations work taking place at the various medical stations and health centers. At Mount Rich Medical Station, the plumbing works are being completed. The project is approximately 95% complete, so all renovations work have been taken place, and just the plumbing to be done. It's about 95% complete, and so we expect to see March to April recommissioning of that facility. Grand Royal Medical Station, the evaluation report is almost finalized, and so we expect to see an early March start of works to happen at that facility. Woburn Medical Station, bids have been submitted and are currently being evaluated. We also expect to see a March to April start of works. Mount Carmel Medical Station, the bids have been submitted and are currently being evaluated. sometime during the course of March or April, we expect to see some work happening there. The Pedmata Medical Station, Mr. Speaker, designs of the extension are currently being developed, and the scope of works of the existing structure is being finalized. The P.T. Martinique Medical Station, much anticipated following the destruction by Hurricane Beryl, Mr. Speaker, the finishing works are currently ongoing, and we expect to complete that in March, and thereafter we will be able to recommission that facility. Mr. Speaker, with reference to the statutorization, just to update very briefly, on 9th of February, the hospital statutorization transition team presented to the Cabinet of Ministers the draft policy on hospital statutorization, which has been endorsed for consultation purposes only. And so, Mr. Speaker, this draft policy has now been shared with key stakeholders, and as of today, the 17th of February, consultations are being held with identified stakeholders. A group consultation will be held on the 25th of February 2026. The statutorization of the hospital services is not something that we should fear, but it's something that we all should embrace and encourage. And so, Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to encourage all citizens to be part of the consultation. So listen up for the various announcements so that we can be part of that. Just to say, Mr. Speaker, we continue to improve services. And at the hospital, Mr. Speaker, currently the pharmacy department opens from 8 to 4. And so, Mr. Speaker, we are making a change effective the 1st of March 2026, Mr. Speaker. Services will begin from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And so, Mr. Speaker, that's a 12-hour shift that we would be looking at. The staff and all are happy about this, and so we look forward to the extended service. What that will do, Mr. Speaker, people who usually come in early, when they get a prescription, they're able to go to the pharmacy before 8 o'clock and be able to return to work to assist with the loved ones on the ward, as well as between the hours of 4 to 7, be able to also be able to get the prescriptions filled at the hospital pharmacy. And that, Mr. Speaker, is very good for improvement of service. Very importantly, Mr. Speaker, I wish to announce, although we did do an official launch, which was captured on media, we want to thank Dr. Randy Becker, and his entire family, as well as St. George's University, for a donation of mammogram equipment, which has now been installed and in operation at the General Hospital. This equipment, Mr. Speaker, has biopsy capabilities. And so, Mr. Speaker, for the first time in Grenada, we're able to have such an equipment, and so we are very thankful to our partners who continue to partner with us. The equipment valued in the region of $500,000 US altogether. So it's a really sweet piece of equipment, well, set of equipments that has been donated to us. And so this is really going to assist our women in early screening and detection and be able to fight the onslaught of cancer that has really been on the rise here in Grenada as we continue to improve health services generally. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable MP.
Item 13, personal explanations. Item 14, motions. Item 15, bills.
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to introduce for its first reading a bill for an act shortly entitled Banking Amendment Bill 2026.
A bill which seeks to amend the Banking Act, number 20 of 2015, the Principal Act, to enhance the regulatory framework of the banking sector, shortly entitled Banking Amendment Bill 2026.
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the relevant standing order of the House be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all its stages at this sitting.
Honourable members, the question is that the relevant standing order of the House be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all stages at this sitting. All those in agreement, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. I think the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the second reading of the bill.
Honourable members, the question is that the bill be read a second time. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to amend the Banking Act number 20 of 2025, which is the Principal Act, 2015, sorry, Mr. Speaker, which is the Principal Act, to enhance the regulatory framework of the banking sector by incorporating banking and supervisory best practices and to introduce a new area of market conduct supervision which supports consumer protection, which promotes financial literacy, financial inclusion, and market integrity. It also seeks to promote, Mr. Speaker, ethical leadership and good governance, which are the foundations of trustworthy financial institutions. Mr. Speaker, this represents a focus on long-term stability over short-term gains. By incorporating banking and supervisory best practices, we hope, Mr. Speaker, to achieve these fundamentals. This particular bill, Mr. Speaker, contains 19 clauses, and I will seek to just refer to a few of them quickly so that we get a general idea as to what is contained in this particular bill. Clause 1, Mr. Speaker, speaks to the short title, and Clause 2 treats with the definitions which are contained in the bill. Clause 3 of the bill seeks to amend Section 2 of the Act to modify existing definitions of certain terms, such as branch, exposure, related party, and to introduce a new definition for the term Bureau de Exchange. Section 102, subsection 1 of the Act is amended by Clause 4, Mr. Speaker, to include broker or dealer services, provision of payment card services, investment management services, and insurance businesses as permissible activities in which a licensed financial institution may engage. By Clause 5, Mr. Speaker, it seeks to amend Section 14 of the bill by substituting subsection 2 to clarify that the central bank must consider the licensed financial institution written objection before deciding whether to revoke a license. A new section, Mr. Speaker, subsection 2A, is also inserted to specify the instances in which the central bank does not require the submission of written objection in order to revoke the license of a licensed financial institution. A new section, Section 19A, is inserted by Clause 6 of the bill to address the requirements for operating, relocating, and closing a bureau d'exchange. Clause 7, Mr. Speaker, of the bill amends Section 44, subsection 3, subsection A of the Act for consistency to refer to principal place of business as already defined in the Act instead of main office. Clause 8 of the bill amends Section 45 of the Act in subsection 2 by substituting the word profit for retained earnings. Subsection 3 is substituted to clarify that a licensed financial institution must obtain approval of the central bank in order to pay dividends, especially where there is a projected loss for a financial institution. In Clause 9 of the bill, Section 50 of the Act is amended. Subsection 2 is substituted to require board approval for related party exposures, transactions, in keeping with the materiality threshold developed by licensed institution. By Clause 11, Mr. Speaker, so I'm going to skip some of them, just kind of look at some of the more critical ones. By Clause 11 of the bill, a new subsection 53A is introduced to provide for By Clause 11 of the bill, Mr. Speaker, a new subsection 53A is introduced to provide for a prohibition of outsourcing. Under this new section, Mr. Speaker, very importantly, a licensed financial institution is prohibited from outsourcing material functions without first obtaining approval from the central bank. Further, Mr. Speaker, a licensed financial institution must notify the central bank before outsourcing its non-material functions. And Mr. Speaker, all of this is geared towards ensuring the confidence in these institutions is protected and investors' deposits are protected. Clause 13 of the bill introduces a new subsection 6 and subsection 7. In section 69 of the Act, these subsections provide for the publication and exhibition of a notice detailing the grant of an extension by the central bank to a licensed financial institution to publish its audited financial statements. Very importantly, Clause 14, Part Roman numeral 7 of the Act is amended by Clause 15 of the bill. The part heading is substituted to clarify that the purview of the part is prudential supervision. Further, Section 70, subsection 1 of the Act is amended to remove references to the periodicity of examination in an effort to reflect that examinations are done based on financial soundness of a licensed financial institution in keeping with the central bank risk-based approach to supervision. So, Mr. Speaker, the risk-based approach to supervision ensures that the various aspects of risk within the institution is considered at all stages. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, a new subsection 92A requires the central bank, very importantly, to set the maximum fees and charges that may be applied by a licensed financial institution. And so, Mr. Speaker, again, this one protects consumer interest. And finally, Mr. Speaker, Clause 16 of the bill introduces a new part, Roman numeral 7A, to the Act, which addresses a new area of market conduct supervision. This part contains 13 divisions, which I'm not going to go into, Mr. Speaker, but only to say the essence of this introduction is to ensure consumer protection, consumer education and awareness, so that consumer has a right under the Banking Act to be protected. And so, Mr. Speaker, with this, I now present the bill to the House for its consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Government Business. Honorable MP for St. Andrew Southwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of the amendment to the Banking Act number 20 of 2015. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I just want to make reference to a particular section of the bill as indicated by the Leader of Government Business, which says that the central bank must be given the authority, or has the authority, to set maximum fees that the bank charges for its services. So let's put this in perspective. A bank is a financial institution. It has two main functions. It accepts deposits and it gives loans. It pays a minimum of 2% interest on the deposit it receives by its depositors. And it sets loans, interest on loans, for whenever it gives a loan from the deposit that it has. That interest rate on loans, to a large extent, Mr. Speaker, can be determined by, of course, the deposit rate. It can be determined by the fact that the bank has to cover its administrative costs. And it can also be determined by the fact that the inflation rate behavior. So that if inflation rate is pretty high, you would expect that the interest rate would more likely go up because the value of money would change with higher interest rates, with higher inflation rates. So essentially, a bank makes money from giving loans. So loans to its customers, loans to its members, these are the principal or the core money-making function of banks. And I say banks, I also refer to credit unions, financial institutions, banks, credit unions, other financial institutions are things like insurance companies and money transfer people and so on. But Mr. Speaker, apart from its core function of giving loans to make money, banks also charge fees. They charge fees on a number of financial transactions that the bank would carry out. And I just want to indicate that those fees that the bank charge, the central bank has no control over the bank. The Central Bank Act has no control over the banks in charging those fees. So the banks can charge their fees, whatever it is, whenever they want. They could raise it whenever they want. Good. And the central bank has no say, and of course the customers have no say. Now, some years ago, I was given the task to determine the revenue banks earn from just fees alone, not from giving loans, not from interest on loans, but just from fees. And the study showed that banks earn 15% of their revenue come from fees. Fees that they charge customers for carrying out financial transactions in the bank. 15% of their revenue come from fees alone. Yeah? And I just want to, Mr. Speaker, refer to some of the fees that commercial banks will charge. So they charge fees, for example, for your deposit. So when you open an account, to maintain the account, they charge you a fee for that. And the fee is $3 every month. And this is paid quarterly. Good? They charge fees for, and these are what you call deposit services fees. So if you want to ask the bank for a bank statement, the bank will charge you for your bank statement. And that is $39.10, just for a bank statement. If you ask for a transfer, they charge you a fee on that, $19.55. Good? Another service that the bank charges fees on is payroll. So if you ask, for example, the bank to carry it, you give the bank an instruction to do some processing of salaries, they charge you $19.53 for that. Payments, for example, if you ask the bank for an electronic fund transfer, they charge you $5.74. If you ask the bank for a local draft from your own money, give me a local draft to pay somebody, the bank charges you $17.25. And if it's a foreign draft, it is $25.88. So, I mean, and these are many. One bank alone, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, sir. One bank alone has 15, 16 different fees that it charges. 16 different fees it charges. So apart from what I have mentioned so far, you have telegraphic transfer services fees, you have bills of collection, you have lending fees. And imagine, let's talk a little bit about the lending fees. Imagine you go to a bank to take a loan for $1,000, right? A minimum of $1,000. The bank will charge you $431.25 fee for that loan of $1,000. $431.25 for a fee of a minimum of $1,000. Yeah? It's very, very high. So you have lending fees, you have bond and guarantees fees, you have security fees, you have safe deposit fees, You have card services fees, and card services nowadays is a popular thing. Yeah? So if you go to the bank and you take out an international debit card, the bank will charge you an annual fee of $24.56. And if you want to replace it, the bank will charge you $37.95 for an ordinary card services fee. If it is a debit card, if it's a credit card fee, the bank will charge you $115 annually just to have a credit card. Yeah? So the banks charge a lot of fees. You have merchant charges, you have e-commerce fees, you have citizen by investment program fees, you have paying agent order fees. So you have a lot of fees that the banks charge. As I said before, recent studies show that 15% of the bank's revenue come from just charging fees. The thing is that the central bank has no control. So what we're doing with this amendment is that we are indicating to the central bank that you being the regulator of the commercial bank, you must set the maximum fees that these banks can charge. Because if not, the banks will feel free to set any fee that they want. In most cases, the customer doesn't even know. He doesn't even know what the fees are. And by so doing, what we are in fact doing is that we are protecting the consumer who uses the bank services. And Mr. Speaker, these regulatory measures are important. They're very important for the stability of the banking system. There was an article written by an economist some years ago. It entitled it, "Hello, Financial Crash." Hello, financial crash. Goodbye, financial regulation. And what he said is that if you don't regulate financial institutions, there's a likelihood that they can crash. And when they crash, the spin-off is in the economy, and that the whole things come down. So this amendment to the Act, Mr. Speaker, sir, is geared towards giving the central bank the authority to set maximum fees for customers, so that the banks don't do as they wish. Good? And being the central bank, you being the regulator, you must have that authority to say to the bank, such is the fee that you must charge for your different transactions when people come to do work with you. So in this regard, Mr. Chairman, I give my full support to the amendment, and that it is good for the financial sector here in Manila. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable MP for St. Andrews Southwest. MP for constituency of St. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my support to the bill as presented. I know this might shock the presenter, but we do agree when we think it is worthy for agreement. And so when we do disagree, with all due respects, we come from a sound place of thought. But Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to see this bill where it protects the consumer. And before I go any further, I want to take this opportunity to compliments and congratulations to our governor from Grenada, Mr. Timothy Antoine. I noticed that he has been given a third term of approval. And that speaks a lot for the naysayers. Mr. Speaker, I am really proud and pleased for that, and I want to take this opportunity here through you to send congratulations to him and his family. And I'm happy to know that this bill will be in pretty safe hands and astute hands, competent hands, because it will take, obviously it will take some doing. If the banks have been doing whatever they want to do over time, I think it is going to be, if not difficult, but a significant task to put these things under control. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, that we as consumers, we almost obligated because of how the system operates. No longer, I think my parents perhaps used to put their money under the mattress, and grandparents and so on, but that no longer is the way of operations. And therefore, we are forced to go to some financial institution, hopefully a licensed one, but we are forced to go there. And because we feel that it is the only avenue, sometimes we do not look at the cost. I heard the member speak about how much you have to pay. If you borrow $1,000, you have to pay $400 back, and I have to check it myself because it sounds like a phenomenal amount. And a number of smaller ones, but they all add up. And they all add up for the financial institution, and they all subtract from the consumer. And they add up on the negative side, and when one does take stock, you might find that you have lost quite a bit. So I applaud that. I notice here that there is an oversight for accountability, which requires the licensed financial institution to put in place mechanisms to avoid fraud and misuse of a financial consumer. And that brought to me the story of someone I know very well in Grenada, poor person who would have worked hard and is now retired and receiving their pension and so on, and that person dealt with a particular bank, and one day the person just woke up and found that there was no money in her account. And after months and months of visiting the bank, what she was told was, there's nothing we could do. And I never understood that, and I don't understand it, and I was trying to encourage her to take further steps. I think I mentioned it to the member one time to have a discussion to see if I could get some enlightenment as to how that person could move forward. And to add insult to injury, because her account was linked to her son's account, later on, a similar thing happened, and the bank said they are not responsible. So I hope, I don't know if this legislation could be retroactive. I hope it can be. I hope it would open up, maybe there's a period in which you could, and I didn't see it in looking at the legislation, but a period in which you can lay a complaint, and I hope that that person could be within that doors, because I find it is so unreasonable. You go to a bank because you think it is safe, and when the bank proves otherwise, people seem to have no, how shall I say it, no external, no support, no authoritative support to deal with matters. And I'm pleased to hear about the central bank being set, the authority to set maximum fees for certain things. And we heard quite a lot about the fees, and I really hope that this can be enforced. It's one thing to pass laws, it's another thing to have enforcement. But I look forward to see a consumer day come when consumers can have more confidence that whatever transaction they do with a lending agency, as licensed as it might be, that there's an oversight entity with the competence and the legal teeth to protect our monies. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable MP for St. Mark. MP for the constituency of St. Patrick East.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my full support to the amendment to the Banking Act bill as before us today. I'm doing so in the capacity as a member council of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. That means that I serve on the Central Bank Monetary Council as one of the persons who give credence to what is happening at the bank. So the Central Bank meets 3 times per year, I think February, mid-term and sometime in November, where we basically meet to decide on things like interest rates on both savings and other operations at the bank. Now, in some other countries, this particular bill has already been passed, and so we depend on the 8 countries that form part of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank to be able to pass this bill to put things in place so that all of the good things that we said that the bank should be doing should be able to happen. So I believe that it's a good move that the central bank would be able to at least fix fees on some of the transactions that are existing in the current financial system, and so that our people would be protected one way or the other with what has been proposed. I do not want the public to believe that the bank shouldn't charge for their services, because there is need for the banks to get the appropriate fees. At the same time, we try not to allow them to abuse their customers. And so, Mr. Speaker, while on one front, we used to have a situation where the ministries of finance of the countries were the ones who used to grant banking license to the bankers. You may recall the situation that we had in Grenada with the Cap Bank, where that bank was not given a license by the central bank, but it was given by the Ministry of Finance, Minister of Finance then. And so we know the story about the Cap Bank story. And so we never want to go back there. And so I want people to sit in a positive sign that the central bank having the authority to grant licenses and protect the customers, as well as to ensure that the bankers get a fair share, is something that we want to see going forward. So there is sustainability, there is continuity in making sure that our countries are protected. It doesn't mean that, for example, that each country should be doing something different. But again, we're supposed to protect our customers by far and large in whatever we are doing. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to give my full support, as I said, to this amendment to the Banking Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable MP for St. Patrick.
The countdown is on for the most exciting relay showdown in the nation. The IMA National Relay Meet, carded for Saturday, February 21st, 2026, 3 p.m. at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Come witness speed, relentless competition, and heart-pounding relays that will keep you at the edge of your seats from start to finish. The island's fastest teams will battle for glory, but who will rise to the top and claim the prizes? You have to be there to see live. Admission finish line $50, main stand $30, secondary stand $20, and bleachers $15. Children 12 and under pay $15 for main and secondary stands and bleachers. Get your tickets. Feel the speed. The IMA National Relay Meet 2026, the ultimate relay experience.
My name is Dr. Abigail Noel, and I am the head of department at the Accident and Emergency Department. One thing I love about Mount Sinai is their spirit of collaboration. They came in with ideas that have transformed our department in real time. The implementation of ID bands for every patient that comes through the emergency department. That has decreased patient errors. They have implemented defibrillators on every ward. Thus far, 128 staff members have been trained in defibrillator use. The huddle system is basically small meeting with all team members. It improves communication between staff members as well as with patients. This transformation means everything to the emergency department and by extension the health system of Grenada.
Camahorn Boat, a powerful multimedia production presented at Carafesta 15, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs. One big performance only at the Grenada Trade Center on Saturday, 7th March at 7 p.m. The Camahorn Boat is the ship of state, Grenada sailing to its destiny. The Camahorn Boat is a call for unity, an exciting story about patriotism played out by Grenada's best acting talents, featuring Samuel Ogilvie, Robert White, Debbie Gilchrist, Bianchi Toussaint, Dillian Walters, and others. Come out and join us in celebrating our Grenadianness on Saturday, 7th March, 7 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center. Admission almost free. Advance tickets are $50, $65 at the door. Your ticket outlets: Giddens Pharmacy Grand Anse, Art and Soul Bookstore, Spiceline Mall, Mitchell's Pharmacy Grand Anse, 3B's Shoe Store, downtown St. George, and other places. Bring out the entire family and enjoy a wonderful evening of Grenadian theater on 7th March at Grenada Trade Center, 7 p.m.
Hi, I want $10 on Playway, $20 back up on Pick 3, and cash for each, please. Okay, are you adding Multi-X to your bet? Yes, Multi-X, all of them. Smart. Best value bet. Backup and Multi-X, you cannot go wrong. Don't matter the bet, Multi-X all of the daily games.
With Multi-X added, your winnings can be multiplied 3 times, 5 times, even 7 times. So make it a rule. Add Multi-X to all your Playway, daily Pick 3, and daily cash for bets every day and for every drop, and watch your money grow. Available at stores and online.
You heard it here. Multiply your winnings daily. Must be 18 or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Well, good morning, players, and welcome. It is time for the NLA's Daily Pick 3 with Multi-X. It's a mid-morning draw for today, Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2026. I'm Lexan Fletcher, your draw hostess for this morning, and joining me is Miss Aliyah Malcolm. Miss Malcolm is here representing RSO and Company Limited Accountants and Advisors, and of course, she's here to ensure the games are conducted in a fair and accountable manner. Now, the game balls have not been tampered with and are within industry standards. Now, don't forget, with a Pick 3 game, you can bet as little as $1 on inline, mix, and pair tickets, and from $2 on backup tickets. And before I reveal this morning's winning numbers, just to remind you, Grenada, something is about to pop. Get ready to pop with Cash Pop. It's a brand new game, which will be brought to you by the NLA, of course, from Friday, 20th February, 2026. Now, with this new game, it will comprise 15 numbers called pops to select from, with every number or pop having the same odds of being drawn. So a little bit more information. Draws will be conducted 5 times a day from 8:45 a.m., 11:45 a.m., 2:45 p.m., 4:45 p.m., and the final one being 8:45 p.m., Monday to Saturday. The first pop draw will happen after sales close at 2:45 p.m. It's available online and also at all authorized NLA agents. So just to remind you, the Cash Pop is coming. Look out for the official launch this Friday at the NLA's service centers at Bruce Street Mall in St. George's and also Jubilee Street in Granville. Happy gaming, folks. It's Pop. All right, hope you got your tickets for this morning's games. Let's find out now what the winning numbers will be for the Pick 3 draw. It pays to play. Good luck to you. First number is 5. Second 0. Final 2. All right, I'll recap, double check your tickets. First up was 5, the second 0, final 2. If you're a winner, congratulations to you. Hope you placed your bets on Multi-X for this one. Good luck to you if you did. Starting things off with FB or free play. To our winners, again, congratulations to you all. And congrats to the 52 winners from last evening's draw with a total payout of $7,495. Get your tickets out. Be ready for Playway with Multi-X. That comes up next. See you then.
Grenada, something good is coming. It's closer than you think. A small moment can change your whole day. A new kind of fun is about to begin. Grenada, your day's about to pop.
Welcome back once again. It's a mid-morning draw for Playway with Multi-X for today, Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2026. I've got Miss Aliyah Malcolm joining me once again. Miss Malcolm is here representing RSO and Company Limited, accountants and advisors. Here's a quick reminder. Don't forget, when playing the Playway game, all you got to do is bet as little as $1 up to $10 or in increments on any number or dream symbol of your choice and get to win 24 times the amount you bet. That's $24 for every dollar spent. It's time to reveal the winning Playway number for this morning. Value your dreams. Win your way with Playway. Good luck. And the winning Playway number is 252525, and the dream symbol is fire. If you're a winner, congratulations to you. Let's move on now to Multi-X. Good luck. And the winning Multi-X ball. Yes. So we got 3X, so that's 3X. Big winner now. Congratulations to you. And congrats to all our winners from last evening as well. We had a total of 286 winners with a total payout of $25,632. Do stay tuned. We've got one more to go for this morning. Cash for draw with Multi-X. See you then.
Like family, it's always exciting when lottery players get together. Now the lottery games are joining in the fun. Check out the multiplier family of Instacash games. 5 times the cash at $2, 10 times the cash at $3, and 20 times the cash at $5. On your tickets, match any of our numbers with any of the winning numbers and win the prize below that number. There's more. Multiply your winnings up to 5 times, 10 times, or 20 times more. Winning is easy. Play Monday to Sunday. There are no draws to wait on. Win instantly. It's the multiplier family of Instacash games with over $675,000 to be won instantly. Don't just buy one, buy all, because family is everything. Must be 18 years and older to play. NLA, making family dreams come true.
And welcome back once again, players. It's a final one for this morning. It's a daily cash for draw with Multi-X for today, Tuesday, the 17th day in February 2026. And of course, joining me once again is Miss Aliyah Malcolm. A reminder, she's here representing RSO and Company Limited, accountants and advisors. Don't forget, with the cash for a game, you can bet as little as $1 on most of the bet types, with the exception of backup, in which case you bet $2. So pick out your tickets. Let's find out now what the winning numbers will be for this morning. It's more plays, bigger prizes. Good luck to you. All right, check your tickets. First number. First up is 3. Second, 1. Third is 6. And the final is 4. And here's your recap. Double check your tickets if you have them. First up was 3, the second number 1, third number was 6, and the final number 4. Congrats to you, of course, if you're a winner. And let's find out now what the winning Multi-X ball will be. Good luck to you. And the winning Multi-X ball is... all right, so that's free play. So if you're a winner this morning for this round, congratulations to you. Congrats also to the 14 winners from last evening's draw. There's a total payout of $11,850. If you haven't won this morning, you got the midday round coming up. So get your tickets and do continue to support sports, culture, and nation building. Have a great day.
What if you had a choice? A choice of joining a line or a choice of making your purchases online? What would you choose? While you ponder on that, the National Lotteries Authority has provided another purchasing option. All their games are now available online. Yes, Grenadians, from wherever you are, purchase your favorite daily and jackpot type games using any electronic device. Register on the NLA's website at www.nla.gd. Top up your account and enjoy online lottery gaming at your convenience. We're taking shopping comfort up, up, up several notches, but the choice is yours. Join a line or buy online. NLA, make your dreams come true.
Do you own an antique, a classic, a custom-built car or motorcycle, or a fully loaded modern car or truck? Come, show off your ride. Register now to be part of Grenada Auto Fest, and you can win part of the grand prize of over $50,000 in cash and prizes. Register online via our social media pages or at www.grenadaautofest.com. Saturday, March 14th at the Royal St. John's playing field, we recognize our partner, Waggity Renters and Son Company, True Bay Boutique Resort, On The Spot Hardware, and all the companies that sponsored our category prizes. Remember, over $50,000 in cash and prizes to be won. Grenada Auto Fest, Saturday, March 14th, Tantin.
Follow Short Pre for your car stereos and music. Looking to upgrade your ride or replace that Japanese car radio? Prestige Audio is having a big car stereo sale for all vehicles. Toyota, Suzuki, Honda, Nissan, Jeep, and more. We've got you covered. Enjoy free installation at our Lucas Street branch with clean, professional, plug-and-play installs you can trust. Need powerful sound for your church, home, party, or DJ setup? Visit our XL Plaza, Grand Anne's location for PA systems, speakers, mixers, microphones, and car audio built to perform. 2 locations, 1 name you can trust. Visit Prestige Audio today, where sound meets excellence.
No. You have comment business?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to thank the members of this Honourable House for their contribution on this bill and now commend it to the House. Thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that the bill be read a second time. Those who are in agreement, say aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Banking Amendment Bill 2026.
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the House resolves itself into a committee of the whole House to consider this bill clause by clause. Thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that this Honourable House resolves itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill clause by clause. All those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it indeed. The ayes have it. This Honourable House is now in committee.
Clause 2, interpretation.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 2 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 3, amendment of Section 2 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 3 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 4, amendment of Section 10 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 4 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 5, amendment of Section 14 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 5 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 6, insertion of new Section 19A in the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 6 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 7, amendment of Section 44 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 7 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 8, amendment of Section 45 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 8 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 9, amendment of Section 50 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 9 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 10, amendment of Section 53 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 10 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 11, insertion of new Section 53A in the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 11 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 12, amendment of Section 59 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 12 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 13, amendment of Section 69 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 13 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 14, insertion of new Part 6A in the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 14 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 15, amendment of Part 7 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 15 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 16, insertion of new Part 7A in the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 16 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 17, amendment of Section 183 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 17 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 18, amendment of Section 184 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 18 forms part of the bill. All those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 19, insertion of new Section 184A in the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 19 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Clause 1, short title.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 1 forms part of the bill. All those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. I think the ayes have it. Sorry. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I beg to move that the House resumes and the Chairman of the committee report progress on the bill. Thank you.
Honourable members, The question is that this House resumes and the chairman of the committee reports progress on the bill. Those who are in agreement, say aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. This Honorable House now resumes. Honorable members, I have to report that the bill was considered by a committee of the whole House and passed without amendment. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the chairman's report be adopted.
Honorable members, the question is that the chairman's report be adopted. Those who are in agreement, say aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. I think the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the third reading of the bill.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time. Honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time and pass. Those who are in agreement, say aye. Those who oppose, say no. The ayes have it. I think the ayes have it.
Banking Amendment Bill 2026.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to introduce for its first reading a bill for an act shortly entitled CARICOM Arrest Warrant Bill 2026. Thank you.
A bill which seeks to establish a procedure for issuing CARICOM arrest warrants to provide for the necessary administrative and other procedures for the effective arrest and surrender of persons on the CARICOM arrest warrant, shortly entitled CARICOM Arrest Warrant Bill 2026.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the relevant standing order of the House be suspended to allow the bill to be taken through all the stages at this sitting. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the relevant standing order of the House be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all stages at this sitting. Those who are in agreement, say aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. I think the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the second reading of the bill.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a second time. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The CARICOM Arrest Warrant Bill 2026, Mr. Speaker, contains three parts. Part one, Mr. Speaker, of this bill treats with the preliminary and is captured in clauses 1 to 6. Part two of the bill, Mr. Speaker, deals with the actual CARICOM arrest warrant and is captured in clauses 7 to 37. And part 3 treats with the miscellaneous aspects of the bill and captured in clause 38 to 41. Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to establish a procedure for issuing CARICOM arrest warrants to provide for the necessary administrative and other procedures for the effective arrest and the surrender of persons under a CARICOM arrest warrant, and to give effect to the CARICOM arrest warrant treaty and for other relevant matters. Mr. Speaker, this bill contains 41 clauses, and I would seek to highlight some of these clauses. Clause 1, Mr. Speaker, treats with the short title. Clause 2 treats with definition. Clause 3, Mr. Speaker, provides for the short title. Clause 4 empowers the Minister of Foreign Affairs to officially recognize participating member states as having passed its own national laws to officially implement the CARICOM arrest warrant treaty. Clause 5, Mr. Speaker, provides that the Act covers offences committed before or after the commencement date of this bill. Clause 6, Mr. Speaker, defines the applicable offences captured under this bill. And Clause 7 identifies the High Court as the issuing judicial authority under the Act. Clause 8, Mr. Speaker, set out the grounds for issuing CARICOM arrest warrants by an issuing judicial authority to arrest a surrendered person who is reasonably suspected of having committed an applicable offense or is charged with an applicable offense or has fled from justice after being convicted of an applicable offense, or who has had a custodial sentence of 1 year or greater and on whom punishment has been imposed for an applicable offense. Mr. Speaker, Clause 9 identifies the Attorney General as a central authority under the Act and sets out the responsibilities of the authority as being responsible for the administrative transmission and reception of a CARICOM arrest warrant and all other documents and official correspondence relating to the warrant. Mr. Speaker, Clause 10, identifies or indicates that expenses under the bill would be met by monies voted for by an Act of Parliament or on the Parliament, and provides provisions are also made for the expenses of transporting the requested person from the executing participating member state to the issuing participating member state to be borne by the participating member. The participating member, Mr. Speaker, are also empowered to enter an agreement to share expenses incurred in executing the particular warrant. Clause 11, Mr. Speaker, provides that the High Court is the executing judicial authority for the purposes of the warrant treaty, which has the power to authorize or determine any matter relating to the surrender of a requested person pursuant to the CARICOM arrest warrant. Mr. Speaker, Clause 12, empowers the judicial authority in a CARICOM member state to issue a CARICOM arrest warrant to have a person arrested and handed over if the person is wanted for a criminal prosecution or the person has already been sentenced to prison or detention but fled before starting or finishing their time in incarceration. Clause 30, Mr. Speaker, referred to the second schedule, which set out the form of a CARICOM arrest warrant. Clause 14 provides for the transmission of a CARICOM arrest warrant, and Clause 15 provides for the authentication of documents relating to the arrest warrant. Clause 16, Mr. Speaker, addresses the arrest and detention of requested persons. Clause 17 provides for magistrates to exercise judicial authority under the Act throughout the jurisdiction of the executing participating member state, overriding and providing for the contrary in the Magistrate Act. However, just this jurisdiction does not extend to habeas corpus, which is within the purview of the High Court. Clause 18, Mr. Speaker, provides for the voluntary process of surrender. Clause 19 addresses situations in which CARICOM arrest warrant relates to more than one offense. Clause 20, Mr. Speaker, addresses surrender procedures. 21 provides for the surrender of decisions. Clause 22 provides that a requested person can only be prosecuted for the specified offences for which the person was surrendered, unless the following: that the requested person consents to the prosecution or sentence, and 2, the requested person is being prosecuted or sentenced for a lesser offence disclosed by the fact of the request for surrender, and 3, the executing consents to him or her being dealt with for another applicable offence or the requested person. Clause 27, just to skip a bit, Clause 27 addresses for circumstances where there are multiple CARICOM arrest warrants in respect of a particular person. Clause 28 provides for the circumstances where the central authority receives in respect of a person a CARICOM arrest warrant and a third state extradition request. The decision on which request takes precedence would be taken by the competent authority. Matters taken into consideration in determining the matters include the following: the seriousness of the offence specified in the CARICOM arrest warrant and to which the extradition request relates. Secondly, the place where the offences were committed or is alleged to have been committed. And thirdly, the provisions of the Act and the Extradition Act. Clause 34 provides for the remand of a person under the Act in prison. Clause 35 addresses CARICOM arrest warrant and requests for extradition. Clause 36 provides for the entering of bilateral agreements between the participating member states. Clause 38 empowers the minister to make regulations, while Clause 39 provides for the subsidiary legislation is subject to negative resolution. Clause 40 empowers the minister to amend the schedule by order, and Clause 41 addresses savings and transitional matters. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill is seeking to address the issue of transnational crime and criminal activity between member states And so what we are seeking to do here is to ensure that there is proper sharing of information and being able to arrest in other member state countries and be able to facilitate the extradition of criminals to ensure that a crime committed in one state is not, that the authorities have the relevant ammunition to be able to arrest in another member state. So, Mr. Speaker, we simply wish to commend this bill to the House for consideration. Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Leader of Government Business. Wow. MP for St. Patrick West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to everyone in the House, as well as to those following on via various media. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the CARICOM arrest warrant bill. CARICOM, as we know, is an organization designed to bring us all together. Its success rests on a number of pillars and in various spheres of collaboration. Mr. Speaker, we are all aware that crime is becoming more and more resistant to borders. And therefore, it is important that law enforcement also take on the posture of eliminating borders which may serve as an impediment to the pursuit of justice. And therefore, this bill seeks to create an avenue where law enforcement agencies within the CARICOM region do not have the encumbrance of not being able to pursue criminals or suspects who flee from one jurisdiction to another in the hope of escaping justice. So therefore, this legislation provides critical support to law enforcement throughout the region to ensure that those who violate our laws do not escape justice. We all know about the proverbial long arms of the law. This piece of legislation seeks to make the arms of the law even longer and surer. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I have no hesitation whatsoever in giving full support to this bill so that within Grenada and throughout CARICOM, we can all be safer in the knowledge that there will be no place for those who attempt to flee justice to hide. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable MP for St. Patrick West. The Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since there are no other... Yeah, okay, sorry.
Leader of...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make a contribution to this bill before its passage, and to say that I believe from what I've studied in this bill that it can go a bit beyond persons who would have been fleeing from justice. And so when you consider, Mr. Speaker, this bill, you can consider it to be a powerful tool that allows citizens to be arrested, detained, and surrendered to another jurisdiction, in other words, another country. And Mr. Speaker, I consider this to be very serious action that can be taken against the liberty of a person. That being said, Mr. Speaker, I wish to say that I fully support this bill and the intentions behind this bill, which has to do with managing the issue of crime from a regional perspective. Mr. Speaker, I wish to point out a few things that I believe are serious and should be considered as we proceed in terms of implementation of this. And I want to start on the subject of consultation. Might be a recurring decimal, but I believe, Mr. Speaker, that we ought not to trivialize the importance of consultation, particularly on things that have serious implications. So if we speak in generally, we can speak about implications for taxpayers, because this actually has financial implications. So at least they should know. At least we should get their views on what we are going to do. So I believe most Grenadians are going to be hearing about this for the very first time this morning, including serious people within the legal system, the judicial system. These persons, Mr. Speaker, will be expected to implement what we are going to pass today. And so, even if you reduce it to just courtesy, Mr. Speaker, again, I repeat this morning, we are bringing too many serious bills before this House that refuse to have any kind of consultation and refuse to have any kind of serious consultation with those who are going to be seriously affected and those who would be critical to the implementation. And I want to go further with this because I believe it's important. It was said some time ago we have the larger numbers so we can just pass what we have to pass. And reference was made to a particular bill that was passed before when we raised the issue of getting the public aware before we come here. So, Speaker, we passed in this House recently a piece of legislation that went into effect from the 2nd of February. And in many instances, Mr. Speaker, it is impossible to implement. Important piece of legislation, but we have not put the administrative and the technical systems in place to facilitate. As a matter of fact, some of the persons who are key to implementation of this piece of legislation that we passed, they only heard about it in the public domain after we would have passed the legislation. Until now, Mr. Speaker, many of them have not even been briefed. Implementation was supposed to begin on February 2nd. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill before us is indeed important when we speak about regional security, when we speak about regional cooperation, particularly in managing modern crimes, as you may want to refer to it. But it doesn't take away the fact, Mr. Speaker, that there are some serious things that we must pay attention to. And whenever the word arrest is used, in this case, we have to surrender a person to a different jurisdiction. So, Speaker, I'm sure for all of us, it brings back what we are fundamentally aware of, that a person is always innocent until proven guilty. And we know, all of us are aware, that there are people who serve many years in prison only to finally come to the conclusion that they were innocent. That being the case, Mr. Speaker, I believe that in every situation like this, we need to do everything possible to ensure that we protect the constitutional right of an individual. And particularly, I want to make reference here, Mr. Speaker, to a person's constitutional right, particularly as it relates to fair hearing. So, Mr. Speaker, if it pertains to a Grenadian, for example, who is wanted in another jurisdiction, for example, for whatever the crime is. Of course, if we look at the document before us, we always want to ensure that we are not putting regional security ahead or at the expense of constitutional rights. And so, Mr. Speaker, the law gives permission, or the law reminds the individual that they have a right to legal representation, for example. And that's great, that's excellent. In the local jurisdiction, when we speak about situations like that, you're also entitled to that right. But, Mr. Speaker, the first thing that came through my mind as I read through the bill is that it told you that you have the right, but I considered, for example, a person who in the local situation might have been given legal support by the state, protected by the state. Again, remembering that a person is innocent until proven guilty. So there are situations locally where an individual is protected by the state based on the circumstances, and they are provided with legal support. So I asked myself, in this situation, a Grenadian to be surrendered to another jurisdiction who cannot afford, for example, the legal support that would have been provided if that case was being heard here, how is that person supported? And there's no reference there to this, and it's one of the things that caught my attention. As a matter of fact, reference was made to support provided for an interpreter, which is great. So I would imagine in this case, if that person is going to a jurisdiction where there's a language barrier, support is provided. But I asked the question, as is normal in our jurisdiction where a person would be provided with that support from the state, what happens in this particular case? Remembering, and whenever we come up with new laws, we also want to be considering all factors. It means that this person is now being taken away from family, they're taken away from their local situation, they have not yet been proven guilty, and they are now surrendered to another jurisdiction. Is there a role for the state in that regard? In other words, Mr. Speaker, justice must not depend on the size of a person's pocket. That's the point. And we are all entitled to rights, regardless of the circumstances. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to draw this particular observation as it relates to this piece of legislation, the bill before us. But I want to come back to the issue of empowering those who are going to implement this piece of serious, important piece of legislation. And I'm concerned when I read, Mr. Speaker, the extent of what this entails, that we are very far away as it relates to the current technical and administrative requirement. And I want to urge the government that we don't end up in the situation as it relates to the reference I made before, that we pass this legislation, we set a date for implementation, and we cannot move because we have not put some basic systems in place. So let me just make a simple reference here as it relates to the case I pointed out. If you speak to any person from prosecution department right now, they would tell you that transportation is a major hindrance to fulfilling their obligations and their responsibilities. Transportation. Now, Mr. Speaker, It means that if we are passing laws that would impact the work that is being done by departments like these, we have to equip them. So I would say, and I would strongly recommend, rather than having 4 constituency vehicles in a parish, maybe do pooling, sharing. Do we need them to be packed up for hours? And the prosecution department cannot provide the service to fulfill the obligations within the law that we pass. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying there's urgent need not just to pass the legislation, but to look at what is required within this piece of legislation. And it does require quite a bit. And I encourage us to move swiftly to ensure that the technical and administrative systems are in place to facilitate. I also wish to, in light of what I said about consultation, when you look at the persons who would be involved in this process, I wish to strongly recommend that we urgently engage these partners in ensuring that they are quite aware, fully aware of the content of this piece of legislation and what would be required of them in that regard. But in terms of institutional readiness, Mr. Speaker, maybe we may also want to look at a phased approach when it comes to legislations like these. And as I said before, if you look at legislation that we've passed only recently, implementation date has passed and we cannot move because of this particular factor. Again, I am recommending very strongly that we review the requirements of this piece of legislation and we move speedily to ensure that the system is in place, because at the end of the day, what is it really? If you have the rights, but you can access to ensure that these rights mean something tangibly. And so this morning, again, I want to say, this piece of legislation promotes cooperation, regional cooperation, which is necessary as it relates to fighting crimes. This piece of legislation is extremely important also for the security and the peace that we need to preserve in this region and in particular our country. But I want to also close by saying, while we do that, let's ensure that we are preserving fairness, we are also preserving sovereignty and the rule of law, regardless of a person's status in society. Let us also ensure that this process is independent of political and other interference so that every person is treated fairly in the process. And so I give my support to this and urge that we put the necessary safeguards and the systems in place to ensure that it works. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader of His Majesty Opposition. Is it the lights? Is it the MP for St. George Northeast?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This piece of legislation is important, it is timely, and I believe, in all honesty, it is a long time coming. Now, essentially, it's talking about how, from a Caribbean standpoint, we can collaborate on crime. And in a sense, this bit of legislation, if anyone understands it very clearly, is not a legislation that is going to be utilized every single day, given the nature and the difference in the natures of crime that are committed. But essentially, it provides jurisdictional cover for magistrates throughout the CARICOM to be able to coordinate on the basis of arrests. And specifically, I'm just listening to the concerns raised, while they may be well-intentioned, but I am saying, Mr. Speaker, this does not take away from someone's constitutional right. there is a process, as with anything in law. You have the right to appeal. Clause 16 addresses the approach in terms of how it is going to be, and it requires, matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, just to read out a section with your leave, the central authority is required to apply to the High Court to approve or endorse the CARICOM arrest warrant. If the High Court judge determines that the CARICOM arrest warrant complies with the law, the judge will endorse it. So it is not just an open sepulchre to say if Ron or John, Mary, etc. is wanted, that he or she is just going to be shipped off and taken away their constitutional rights, etc. This, honestly, is a legitimate approach to how crime should be fought at the Caribbean and in particular the CARICOM level. So to suggest that the bill creates some kind of legal vacuum where a person is left without representation simply because the offense occurred elsewhere is legally unsound, right? What the bill does, in fact, is balances regional justice and cooperation, as mentioned earlier on, with individual rights, jurisdictional scrutiny, and the procedural fairness. It's clearly outlined. And in essence, it helps to strengthen, as mentioned, the rule of law across CARICOM. It is not taking away. We currently have laws presently which are applied. There is no threat to any constitutional right, and if ever that concern comes up, I am certain the learned men and women throughout our legal fraternity will be open to raise it. While, again, we need to listen, and we have listened to all sides, but this particular legislation does not do what I just heard was mentioned. And I think, Mr. Speaker, going forward, you see, and we could continue the conversation. We need more of those conversations. But going forward, what I think we need to do is we need to understand the context of legislations before critiquing it. This to me sounds like some kind of AI-generated critique because it is not genuinely addressing the essence of the bill presented here this morning. And so to suggest that in some way, fashion, or form, we are going to be taking away from people's rights where there is a process, even for this bill to be enacted, in my humble opinion, does not do justice to what is before us here this morning. But, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I give full support to this legislation, and I wish us all the best as we continue to deliberate on the other pieces of legislation before us. Thank you.
Thank you, MP for St. George, Northeast. And I invite the Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I take it that, well, I firstly want to thank the members for their contribution on this bill. And sometimes, Mr. Speaker, I wonder how our minds strays, our minds wander into things, discussing a particular bill, we on to constituency vehicles. I don't know, but we have to liberate ourselves, Mr. Speaker, from this type of bondage. Because you cannot be carrying these things. The vehicles are everything, you know. Carrying this on your mind. Every parliament sitting as if we are slave to the parliamentary vehicles. Mr. Speaker, these vehicles are used by the constituency drivers to do the work of the constituency, to address the needs in the constituency. Mr. Speaker, when one considers that you hear us speaking about use the vehicles to assist the prosecution department, when one was in office for 2 consecutive terms, all of a sudden, the prosecution department needs vehicles. Well, Mr. Speaker, we will not waste our time on discussing this, but I just want to say, Mr. Speaker, that there are certain rules that governs the arrest of individuals. And first and foremost, as a rule of thumb, one must appreciate for someone to be arrested, there must be reasonable grounds to believe that someone has committed an offense. I think this is basic common sense. You speak to an ordinary person. If a police approaches an individual, the first question they would ask you, what have I done? If they believe that they have not done anything. And secondly, the individual, if they feel that they have not done anything, will not answer. I think these are basic things that we know. Will not answer a question, but will ask for a legal representation, for a lawyer to be present. But, Mr. Speaker, more importantly, Section 22. As a matter of fact, just give me a brief moment, Mr. Speaker. Section 18 of this bill, let me see if I can go back one, speaks to consent to surrender. Permit me, Mr. Speaker, where a requested person is brought before a magistrate under Section 16 as referred to by the Honourable Member, that person may consent to surrender to the issuing participating member, and where that person does not consent, there are remedies to be applied, Mr. Speaker. The magistrate shall make an order for him, for his or her surrender to the issuing participating member state. If satisfied that the surrender of the person is not prohibited, if the surrender of the person is not prohibited under Section 18, 30, and Section 31. And just give me a brief moment, let me just refer. Section 22, sorry, not 18. 22, 30, and 31. And in Section 22, Mr. Speaker, let's see if I found it. Oops. The rules of specialty. A requested person who has been surrendered under this Act shall not be prosecuted or sentenced for an offense committed prior to his or her surrender, other than that for which he or she was surrendered, unless the following: he or she consents to such prosecution or sentence, he or she is being prosecuted or sentenced for a lesser offense disclosed by the fact upon which the request of surrender had been made. And Mr. Speaker, what I'm simply saying here, that somebody cannot simply be taken up and handed over. There is a process of the court that is followed and certain consent that has to be given by the perpetuator. So it has a process, and if we read the bill, we would understand that somebody cannot just be taken up and just handed over. It doesn't even exist now, even without this bill. And with the bill, it still will not be permitted. So one has to be careful.
not to mislead the general public, and must understand and recognize that when we speak in this honorable House, Mr. Speaker, we are speaking to many out there who are listening to us, including our children. What are we trying to do by this bill, Mr. Speaker? Ensuring that criminals or people who have chosen a life of crime, the few amongst us who have chosen a life of crime, has no safe place within the space of this CARICOM region, and that there is proper sharing of information, and that our people, Mr. Speaker, should not live in fear of criminals. So we are providing a framework within which we can operate to protect the citizens of CARICOM. And so, Mr. Speaker, again, I want to express my profound gratitude to all of those who contributed and continue to support this bill. Thank you so much.
Honourable members, the question is that this bill be read a second time. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it indeed. The ayes have it.
CARICOM Arrest Warrant Bill 2026.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House resolves itself into a committee of the whole House to consider this bill part by part. Thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that this Honourable House resolves itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill part by part. All those who are in agreement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Part 1.
No, hold. This Honourable House is now in committee.
Part 2, CARICOM Arrest Warrant.
Honourable members, the question is that Part 2 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Part 3, miscellaneous.
Honourable members, the question is that Part 3 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
First schedule.
Honourable members, the question is that first schedule forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Second schedule.
Honourable members, the question is that second schedule forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Part 1, preliminary.
Honourable members, the question is that Part 1 forms part of the bill. Those in agreement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. You'll have government business?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I beg to move that the House resumes and that the chairman of the committee reports progress on bill. Thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that the Honourable House resumes and the chairman of the committee reports progress on the bill. Those who are in agreement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. This Honourable House now resumes. I have to report, honourable members, that the bill was considered by a committee of the whole House and passed without amendment. Do you have government business?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the chairman's report be adopted.
Honourable members, the question is that the chairman's report be adopted. Those in agreement, say aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. You have government business?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the third reading of the bill.
Honourable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time. Honourable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time and pass. Those who are of that opinion say aye. Of a contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it indeed. The ayes have it.
CARICOM Arrest Warrant Bill 2026.
Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to introduce for its first reading a bill for an act shortly entitled Domestic Violence Amendment Bill 2026.
A bill which seeks to amend the Domestic Violence Act, Chapter 84, the Principal Act, to revise the definition of the term cohabitant, to expand the scope of domestic violence, shortly entitled Domestic Violence Amendment Bill 2026.
Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the relevant standing order of the House be suspended to enable the bill to go through all the stages at the sitting. Thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that the relevant standing order of the House be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all stages at the sitting. All those in agreement say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Domestic Violence Amendment Bill 2026. This bill, Mr. Speaker, seeks to amend Domestic Violence Act.
Just hold on, I remember. You didn't seek for the second reading of the bill.
Okay, sorry.
Please.
I thought I did. Okay.
Please seek and proceed.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be read a second time.
Honourable members, the question is that the bill be read a second time. Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to amend the Domestic Violence Act, Chapter 84, which is the Principal Act, to revise the definition of the term cohabitant to expand the scope of domestic violence to include forms of abuse inflicted through electronic or digital means, namely cyberbullying, cyberstalking, and online harassment. It also seeks, Mr. Speaker, to expand the definition of emotional, verbal, and psychological abuse to expressly include unwelcomed or intimidatory contact and the dissemination of intimate images. Mr. Speaker, these types of bullying, as it were, or online violence has really affected our people, young and old. And the time has come for us to arrest these challenges by way of enacting legislation to strengthen law enforcement to be able to treat with these types of violation of personal rights. Mr. Speaker, in many instances, when there is a breakup of relationship, in particular, Mr. Speaker, one uses cyberbullying and online harassment and stalking of individuals as a way of frustrating and intimidating people and subduing them, using intimate images, Mr. Speaker, and circulating it so as to embarrass individuals. Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to prevent people from eroding the dignity of other individuals. And so, Mr. Speaker, we believe that this is very important, that people's privacy ought to be protected. And when one wants to move on in life, they should not be stalked or harassed by using the World Wide Web, Mr. Speaker, to intimidate individuals. And so, Mr. Speaker, this particular bill has very short 2 clauses. Clause 1 treats with the short title, and Clause 2 treats with the definition of these different terms. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to commend this bill to the Honourable House and seek the response from my colleagues on both sides of the aisle. Thank you.
Honourable MP for St. Andrew Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this amendment to the Domestic Violence Act. Mr. Speaker, we do so in a time of national grief. We call her name, Alindra Let Hippolyte, a young promising student nurse, a daughter with dreams, a young woman who chose a path of service, preparing herself to care for others. Her life embodied hope and potential. Her loss has shaken the nation. While the tragic and senseless killing of Alindra may not fall squarely within the specific legal framework addressed by this bill, it forces us to confront a painful truth. Violence in any form leaves devastation in its wake. Families are shattered, communities are traumatized, our young people began to question their safety and the justice system. And just this morning, Mr. Speaker, we are hearing about another senseless killing. This time, an 18-year-old girl, another family thrown into mourning, another community shaken. The urgency is real, Mr. Speaker, and it demands action from us as government and from every arm of our justice system. It demands legislative reform that reflects modern realities. It demands a justice system that is efficient, responsive, and firm. It demands properly resourced social services and victim support. It demands early intervention, community education, and accessible mental health care. And it demands accountability, clear and visible and timely. Mr. Speaker, this bill expands protection, modernizes our law, and ensures that the Domestic Violence Act reflects the realities of abuse today. It revises the definition of cohabitant, recognizes abuse through electronic and digital means, cyberbullying, cyberstalking, and online harassment, and explicitly includes unwelcome or intimidatory, emotional, verbal, and psychological conduct. Harm today is not only physical, it can be digital, it can be psychological, it can be economic, and its impact can be just as devastating. The bill strengthens our shield,
giving the law the tools to protect those who are most vulnerable. But legislation alone cannot stand in isolation. Reform must be sustained, justice must be certain, protection must be practical. To Alindra's family and to every family now grieving, we stand with you. Your pain is not invisible. Your grief is not ignored. Every act of violence reminds us prevention cannot be partial and protection cannot be optional. The amendment is a critical step, but it must be accompanied by continued reform, strengthening systems, and unwavering resolve. We honor Alindra and all those who have lost their lives, not only by mourning them, not only by going on social media and speaking out, Mr. Speaker, but by committing ourselves to building a safer Grenada. I therefore lend this bill my full and unwavering support. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable MP for St. Andrew Northwest. And I invite the MP for St. Andrew Northeast to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my contribution on this bill which we are seeking to amend the Domestic Violence Act, Chapter 84, which is the principal act. Mr. Speaker, the amendment to revise important definition of terms such as cohabitant, domestic violence, and emotional and psychological abuse, I believe is necessary, as our laws must reflect the lived realities of relationships in today's society. However, Mr. Speaker, I look at the new definition proposed for the term cohabitant, and I would suggest that we relook this definition, because under Section 2, prior to this bill coming forward here today, it simply meant that someone who is living or has lived with a person of the opposite sex as man and wife. This new definition proposed, Mr. Speaker, is basically narrowing the information here provided, because someone suffering from domestic violence now has to show two things. They have to prove that it is a bona fide domestic relationship, and also that they have been cohabiting for more than 5 years. What this definition does, Mr. Speaker, is removing many women who would have before been protected by this bill. So I ask that we relook this definition. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the bill also expands the scope of violence to include abuse inflicted through digital means, cyberbullying, cyberstalking, online harassment, and private or sensitive information. And the facts are simple. Violence has indeed evolved. It is no longer a slap or a punch to the face, Mr. Speaker, but it has moved to the use of technology, a post on social media, a message through digital devices, shared images with the intention to humiliate, to silence, to intimidate, to even control or destroy individuals. And this malicious sharing of images can destroy one's reputation. It can destroy their lives and even their mental health, Mr. Speaker. And so I'm happy that these are now included as violence into this act, Mr. Speaker.
this inclusion is indeed necessary. Mr. Speaker, we cannot pretend that because it is virtual and we cannot see the bruises that the harm is not real. And as someone who has experienced digital harassment, online abuse, Mr. Speaker, I'm in support of this. Because you see, it happened to me right here in this house. Yes, Mr. Speaker, right here in this house with the intention to humiliate, taken to social media. And I believed we missed a perfect opportunity when redress was indeed pursued. Mr. Speaker, nothing was done on this matter, but I'm happy that we are now looking to include it as part of the violence that women usually face. Recently, Mr. Speaker, you know I had the opportunity to attend the regional summit on technology-facilitated gender-based violence. And what this is showing that policymakers across the Caribbean are now recognizing that digital spaces have now become arenas for abuse. So it is important that we support the strengthening of the definition of violence to reflect these new realities. But, Mr. Speaker, I say we must go further before passing these amendments. We must ensure that our police officers receive the proper training to handle digital evidence. There must be public education, especially for our young people, so that they can understand their own digital responsibility. And of course, there must be adequate resources for victims of this abuse. Mr. Speaker, and while we mourn as a nation and we speak about the recent death of Ms. Alexandra Lett, and this morning in my constituency, Tivoli to be exact, another gruesome murder. When I look through this bill, Mr. Speaker, we speak about modernization of the Domestic Violence Act and expanding its definitions. But what this bill is showing, Mr. Speaker, it is silent on urgent life and death realities confronting women in our society. Because we spoke about and we are so passionate about how we feel. What happened 2 weeks ago when our nation was shaken by the gruesome murder. The pain is still fresh in our minds. And we know that no legislation can undo this tragedy. However, we must acknowledge that gender-based violence is indeed on a spectrum. And this morning, I take the opportunity in this house to extend my deepest condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of the young woman in my constituency who was gruesomely murdered this morning, Mr. Speaker. Our community is traumatized. I know the family must be shattered at this time. And of course, our nation is in mourning again. And that is why I'm asking, Mr. Speaker, we are so passionate about this matter and to put measures in place to deal with domestic violence, violence against women. But I want to ask, where in this bill do we meaningfully address the escalating patterns of lethal violence against women? Where are the strengthened risk assessment mechanisms for high threat cases? Where are the emergency protection protocols that will come with clear timelines and accountability? You see, as we confront cyber abuse, Mr. Speaker, we must also recognize psychological and emotional harm. But this piece of legislation must also respond to the extreme manifestation of domestic violence, that is homicide. Today's tragedy in my constituency reminds us that prevention must be proactive, not reactive. If we are very serious about protecting our women, we must ensure that the Act is not expanding definitions, but is also strengthening the enforcement and prevention. Mr. Speaker, our laws must not only speak about evolving forms of abuse, but it must also look at the painful reality that our women are still dying. This morning in my constituency, and I reinforce the point that this young woman did not survive. Let this weigh heavily on this House as we deliberate, because we have to move beyond amendments of language to amendments of protection, accountability, and urgency. We owe it to her. We owe it to every woman in this country. Mr. Speaker, legislation must not simply respond to tragedy, it must prevent the next one. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable MP for St. Andrew North East. MP for St. Mark.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I too want to make my contribution to the bill as presented by the Leader of Government Business. Mr. Speaker, I do agree and do support the need for revision of legislation for modernizing what we do, how we do, what we treat with, in keeping with development. So at one time we looked at one way to deal with some of the issues, and at this time we're looking at different ways to deal with the issues, going from physical and looking at other digital ways of causing harm to people as a whole, but specifically to women at this time. So there are quite a lot of areas, apart from the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, emotional, verbal, psychological, and quite a number of them, and it goes to cyberbullying and cyberstalking as well. And I well recall in this honorable House, I think it was through your initiative, Mr. Speaker, that we were sent out as parliamentarians to schools, secondary schools, to speak to the young people on cyberbullying and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, it was a one-off, but maybe some entity could have been same parliament, could have made it a more frequent activity, or maybe the government side or even this side could have taken it on, because it is growing in disastrous proportions and causing tragedy in the lives of many persons nationally and globally. So I am glad that we are looking at this issue. But Mr. Speaker, I want to also suggest that we need to take this further. Not just words, not just definitions and changing things in keeping with technology, but we also need substance. Mr. Speaker, domestic violence is not new to us. It has been happening for quite a long time. And I recall one of the former members of our government, Honorable Yolande Bain Hosford, who was in social services at the time. She was instrumental in organizing the Cedars Home for battered women. And that was about 30 years ago. But, Mr. Speaker, we still have that need to provide physical shelter for women who are battered. Because some women feel compromised because they do not have the wherewithal to look for alternatives. And so some of them find themselves either just staying in the situation of domestic violence and abuse, or leaving and having to return because they do not have much options. And we still today have just this one facility, as far as I am aware of, and there is a short-term arrangement that I have heard of with the Ministry of Social Development, whereby a victim can get support for a few months, maybe 3 months or so, rent, and afterwards, as far as I understand, that same victim is left to look for her own means. And so it could be adult victims, but also I want to, to remind us that a lot of the times the violence extends to children as well. And it is not just physical and mental, but it is sexual abuse as well. And I looked at some of the CARICOM statistics for violence, and especially sexual violence. And in Grenada, it is said that 28 to 30% of women report experiencing intimate partner violence. That is almost 1/3 of women who would have come forward to give information. And non-partner sexual violence, about 10%. Mr. Speaker, the lawyers, the courts will tell us that compared to other crimes, other physical crimes in Grenada, sexual abuse takes a high percentage in our country. So Grenada ranks pretty high among CARICOM countries for domestic violence and especially for sexual violence. So, Mr. Speaker, the definitions are good, but we need more. We need a more comprehensive approach to domestic violence. We need a more proactive approach to domestic violence. What do we teach our young boys, our young girls? Is it okay to be violent because you are a young man and you're strong and you can physically overpower the women? What do we teach them? What do we teach them in the schools? How many programs do we have? What do we teach them in the communities? That they must, about respecting women, respecting other people in general, because violence is not limited only to women and girls and young and children, but our violence in our country needs to be looked at in general, because any violence can convert to another type of violence. So I think our legislation has to have more teeth. We need to look at the penalties that are imposed. And penalties, whatever we say, penalties are a deterrent to crime. You make the sentence long enough, you make the fine strong enough, and some of the brave ones who will attack these women, they become cowards and they back off. But very importantly, I want to go back to involvement, to inclusion, to having dialogue with our men and especially our young boys, but even women too. Because sometimes women seem to think that they have absolutely no alternative but to just stay and take whatever they get. So the nation as a whole needs to get involved with that, not just the government, which we do know that the government has to lead. Government has to be there, or their prime minister needs to be there, showing empathy, but doing even more than that, but promising us to lead the charge in dealing with domestic violence. In 2020, thereabouts, January 2020, we started the Spotlight Initiative. And quite a lot was achieved, but certainly where we are is no comfort zone that we have done a lot, we have spent a lot. There is still a lot more to be done in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique to protect our women and children and to dissuade, to discourage the use of violence to resolve situations. It's not going to be easy, because it is an educational process. People have to learn, things would have to be repeated and so on, but we cannot just come here with some definitions and think that this is going to solve it. It will not. It's a step, I respect it, but there's a lot more physical things that we need on the grounds. Developing stronger relationship with civil society, because there are many groups that do get involved in addressing the issue of domestic violence, and I hope we can do more than just posing with families, hugging them, holding their hands. That is important, the empathy is important, but what concretely are we doing to discourage domestic violence? I hope we can do much more. Mr. Speaker, when the program ended in 2022, then the government was supposed to take over, because that funding that came, it was about $1.6 million US. And when that funding was no longer there, which was supported by international organizations, the government had to take over. And that would have been the end of 2022. And for 2026, I was looking at the budget to see what was put for anything that had to do with domestic violence. And I looked at training, areas of training under social development, social services, whatever. And that is a ministry that usually leads in the charge against, or the charge for eradication of domestic violence. And I see a 50,000 there. I see a 5,000, another place. I'm not sure what it is for, but I presume that if you're going to train young people as well, and young men at risk. Mr. Speaker, another area in the budget, domestic violence and child care program. I see 0 for 2026. Now I know that the budget document has some hidden little areas where allocations are put under very strange and nebulous names for whatever reason, but I feel a topic like that should be spelled out. Domestic violence and child care program, so it's probably there. But it needs to be in a place where women and we who want to champion the cause of women must know that so much is assigned for domestic violence. Training of young offenders, $60,000 budgeted for 2026 for young offenders. So I want to beg of the government to please review the budget. And there is opportunity for that in the budget cycle at certain times when you can do supplementary and do something. Because the way we are hastening downhill into an abyss, into a pit with this domestic violence, it has to be halted. And unfortunately, financing, budgeting is critical. So even if we have to divert some funds from somewhere else, wherever it is up to the government to determine where it wants to do that. But I think this is absolutely, absolutely necessary that we find means. I think it is necessary that we on this side be involved in some way or another to put hands with government, to put hands with other community-based organizations to eradicate this scourge. Our statistics are too high. One person is too high. We've had two acts of domestic violence that robbed two young ladies of their lives in 2 weeks. What happens in 4 weeks? What happens in 6 weeks? Mr. Speaker, addressing this issue is of the essence. And I hope in short time we can come back with some recommendations to deal with that, to make those who are accountable answer for that, whether it's a fine. Another thing I just wanted to mention as well, if persons are being released early or whenever, if you have sexual predators, The communities must know. I don't know how we're going to handle it. The communities must know. There are ways to keep a tab on them by putting some kind of bracelet in their feet. So I've said enough, but I think we have to look for means to let the public know that they have to be careful and let the perpetrators serve their full time. I don't see why there should be early release for anybody who feels that they could abuse women, as some persons have done in this country. I thank you.
Thank you, MP for St. Mark. Honorable MP, did you turn your light on? Okay, MP for St. George Northeast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise and, like everyone else who got up, while in support of this bill, I would like to extend my personal condolences to families who certainly lost loved ones only recently this morning as a result of the tragedy. Mr. Speaker, this, in fact, in terms of this legislation, is timely, it is important, and while we can accept that it's not the only answer to what is before us, we need something more powerful than shenanigans. We need something more powerful than legislations. And at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, we could sit here and pretend that the government, the police, the politicians could stop crime. It will not happen. We need a community that is built on values. We need families who are looking after their children, and we need people who can support genuinely to come forward and do so. We need less of the rhetoric, because every time these gruesome acts occurs in our society, there are some people who only want to exploit it. Chance after chance has done absolutely nothing, has not even organized a conference to discuss this matter, but always have the answers when the shoes is on the other side of the foot. Mr. Speaker, what we need is less hypocrisy and more action. I want to make this point as it relates to this bill. Mr. Speaker, let's assume today is your birthday, and we didn't acknowledge it. But what is fitting? Is it fitting for me to go on social media and say happy birthday to the Speaker, or to engage you directly and to give you your birthday greetings and possibly a gift or so? That is what is needed. So less of the rhetoric, because time immemorial, this has gone on. It will happen again, unfortunately, and we will come back singing the same old Sankey song about who should do this and more legislations. Mr. Speaker, I want to posit here, I am not satisfied that by this legislation alone we can solve domestic violence. But I am saying something more needs to be done. And let me give you an example. While we were here, the leader of His Majesty's opposition, she was speaking. I received a call from a young lady who says to me she's in the same position, just a few moments. I don't want to be specific to give off any details, but she did receive some threats of potentially being chopped up, right? She had to move, etc. What I'm saying is, this is a real example, and it is ongoing, whether it happens nationally and the tragedy occurs, or quietly. What we need is not shenanigans. What we need is action, genuine action. Less of the rhetoric, because, Mr. Speaker, I could call names. Ariel Bola, may God rest her soul. I could recall sitting, I believe, I stand to be corrected, we were in the Senate around that time. And what we had was a lot of grandstanding. And you see, sometimes you have to be honest. And this is not a criticism to the other side. Because I think if we accept that we must work together on this, we have to stop trying to pit the me versus you versus them kind of scenario. What we need, Mr. Speaker, is to come together. Parliament, for example, did do the initiative, which was one-off. The honourable member from St. Mark raised the concern. Now, with the former administration's level of experience, I would assume that by now, we could have get a proposal to, let's say, tackle or target the issue on a bipartisan basis. This has not been forthcoming. Yes, it's the government's responsibility to lead. Every bit of legislation that we have sought to put forward has either been turned into a political campaign football or is being dealt with on the basis that we just come and we ain't doing nothing for that kind of crime and we lose. The other issue I want to address, Mr. Speaker, which this bill seeks to address, is this dangerous approach of using social media to vilify people. Mr. Speaker, I have one Facebook profile. Anybody says anything about me, I respond to them if I choose to, through that. Some people have 3 and 4. They go about posting all kinds of crazy stuff against people, and they help in the whole conversation as to make it normal when you have an issue with someone to go take data, post it online, and that becomes the norm. Every other day you go on Facebook is some scandal about some government minister. And it is similar in terms of the pattern with what goes on here when it comes to sexual crimes. If some couple doesn't agree with one another and they have their nudes, they leak it. If some fight take place, or this one thing, some love triangle. What we need, Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned, and I will end here, again, we need something more powerful than the shenanigans, something that is way more powerful than this legislation. We need action among community, family, and people to take responsibility for what is going on here. This is far too gone to be seeking to blame government or opposition. What we need is an all-inclusive approach, but one that is rooted in genuine belief that we want to solve this problem and less of the hypocrisy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MP for St. George North East, for your contribution. Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to also support the bill. It's simple in that it is only 2 clauses. And yes, it is mostly addressing definitional issues, but I think particularly in relation to the issues pertaining to online abuse, it is absolutely critical. Because the reality is a large portion of our citizens, as is the case with the world, lives online. Online has become what we once called virtual reality, has become their reality. And the breadth, depth, and scope of the abuse that can take place online is far more rapid, instant, and extensive than, say, the traditional forms of abuse. And you can destroy someone's reputation, someone's career, and someone's mental health with a single click of a button. And we need to ensure that our law reflects the modern reality and that protection are given to particularly children, women, but also, in a sense, the full public, because the context in which the legislation is drafted applies to both men and women equally, because certainly for online abuse, it can go both ways. Mr. Speaker, I think like everyone else here, I'm standing obviously saddened, unhappy with the news we received that an 18-year-old, someone who's legally just becoming an adult, life has been taken away from her in circumstances which, since the matter is obviously under active investigation, clearly suggest that she was in an abusive relationship with a man who, it is alleged, has taken her life. What is not alleged is that her life has been taken, and obviously taken in circumstances that should not happen. Mr. Speaker, the challenge we face in Grenada, and that all of us have to recognize, is the fact that we have a culture that for a time immemorial has first of all convey the lived reality that men can do what they want with women. To the point where even some women accept it. That we have a culture where they resort to violence, not to settle anything, it doesn't settle anything, but that they resort to violence as a means of expressing oneself, expressing disagreement, expressing mistrust, is normative. It almost is a forced reaction in many instances. We come from a culture where capital punishment was the norm in schools, and you would still hear people saying, don't spare the rod and spoil the child. And so we still have a culture where people feel the only way to discipline a child is to beat them. Violence begets violence. So if we can't talk dispassionately and honestly about just basic issues like that, the challenge we will have is, and I'm going to record what I'm saying, we must obviously as legislators do what we need to do to address those issues. But the truth is, when the violence happens, when someone dies, it is already too late. So if an 18-year-old at 18 is already in an abusive relationship with a young man, then we have a fundamental failing of the family. Because the question we have to ask is, how is an 18-year-old in an abusive relationship? When she has a mother or a father, probably grandmother, grandfather, aunts, uncles, etc., that we are not able to protect that child from first being in that position. And it therefore means that as a society, from our education system, from the way we socialize, from our parenting, what are we doing? There's a question asked by the member of St. Mark. And I took that to mean in the collective. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure you're aware that the Ministry for Social and Community Development has been running parenting classes, teaching adults how to be parents to their children. Now, at first blush, I would ask, what is the state or the government doing teaching people how to parent? How is it that we produce adults that themselves are unable to care for and parent and nurture and love and impose the right values into their children, so that the state has to get public officers or civil servants or counselors to teach them how to parent, how to speak to their children, how to not beat them as the first response to the child expressing themselves or being curious or being defiant. That is what is leading to the violence. So all of us have a responsibility to promote a kinder, gentler, more peaceful, more dialogue-driven society, and to challenge norms if they require challenging. And I've said, for example, I'm not saying that it is wrong, but in many of our approach to education, you have boys-only schools, you have girls-only schools, for example. And in many instances, therefore, boys grow up outside of perhaps a family setting, or maybe a village setting, having no interaction with girls until they're probably 18, or vice versa. By then, your hormones are all over the place. If you don't have good parenting guidance background, or village parenting guidance background, how then are you coping? Who teaches you then how to interact with a young lady? And who teaches the young lady how to interact with a young man? And who ensures that a young lady doesn't accept that being roughed up, or being cursed, or being spoken to harshly, or the control about what to wear, where to go, etc., is not acceptable, when TV promotes it as acceptable through movies and film and comedy shows and music and music videos. So this is not, Mr. Speaker, a simplistic issue that we are grappling with. There are realities. We inherited a patriarchal society. Some of our Christian underpinnings say clearly, the man is the boss. And people literally interpret that to mean, I can be abusive to you. So if we want to begin, Mr. Speaker, to start fundamentally altering the way in which we behave, we will have to, yes, when someone dies, when someone is abused, we will get emotional because it's human nature. We will have to react, we have to show the empathy, we have to be there for the family. But it's already too late. So if we want to mitigate the next one happening, we have, Mr. Speaker, all of us, have to look at what kind of society Grenada is. What is our values? What are the things that we know do not make sense and that we need to challenge? We know who is at risk. When the children come to school, you could just almost look at them and know they're at risk. We know in the villages what type of mother or father or the absence of the mother or father that they have. We have concentrated pockets of risk, Mr. Speaker. We have homes. The Child Protection Authority, the government is raising people's children for them. And when these children turn 18, as I discovered when I got into the office, I was being told in many senses they were just being put out. So we raise them for until 18, and then we simply say to them, you have to leave. And when I discovered that, I said to the minister, and the minister agreed, well, that can't be happening. Because where are they going to end up? They're already very vulnerable if it is that they don't have their biological parents in the world or a greater group of people supporting them. So, yes, what are we doing? And I agree with the MP for St. George Northeast, and I agree with the MP for St. Mark. If we all collectively are serious, beyond the debate, we need to sit down together with the parents, the schools, the teachers, the churches, to start identifying, at a minimum, those high-risk, high-vulnerable areas, villages, homes, and put the effort in to make sure that we can teach and encourage and support the right behaviors and the right types of values. But at the end of the day, individual responsibility still matters, and it still counts. And a government, a parliament, cannot raise people's children for them. It cannot parent people's children for them. And it cannot instill values in them. The young man who's alleged to have perpetrated this act, he too has a family. And what have they put in him? What values have they put in him so that violence to the point of a homicide is something that he will engage in? So I'm not going to get up and suggest that any government, any legislator, any parliament is going to solve domestic violence. It will not. And pretending to do so is going to be hypocritical, and you will have more violence. So if we don't go back to behavior and values, because the values will influence the behavior, we are not going to even begin to make a dent in this challenge. If very early on, a young boy or girl isn't taught that hitting each other or hitting another boy or hitting another girl is not acceptable behavior, and it is reinforced consistently by parents, by the churches, by schools, we are not going to make a dent. All of this is reactive. Widening the scope to deal with bullying, ensuring that cohabitants can get a restraining order, etc., means that already has happened and it's too late. So it's reactive. So yes, I agree that fundamentally greater emphasis has to be on the prevention, and the prevention comes with us ensuring that as a society we first begin to talk honestly about what has been happening forever in our society. what we need to do to curb it in terms of our education, in terms of our morals, in terms of our values, and in terms of the institutions that will support those things. And the MP for St. Mark is right. The statistics will clearly tell you that Grenada has some of the highest rates of gender-based violence and sexual-based violence. And at times 60 to 70% of their sizes is in fact dominated by sexual violence, ranging from incest to rape. And if we are not in primary school talking about those things, who goes to primary school and explain to a 5 or 6 or 8-year-old what incest is? Nobody. And why it's wrong. And signs so that you are clear on what is inappropriate behavior from a family member. That's what we need to do. That is what parents and teachers, law enforcement, the church, in the collective, that is what we need to be prepared to do and to go. But if we don't even have, I will call it biological education, where you explain to a child what their body parts are so they could understand what is appropriate and not appropriate. How is, yes, passing law isn't going to change that because it's too late. So, Mr. Speaker, I think if we are serious about making sure that at least we get concrete action in light of these two tragedies, then we have to go right to the foundation, right at the primary school level, right at the parenting level, right at the village and community and the homes level, and be able to properly talk about those issues and make sure that the behaviors we want are being reinforced consistently over a sustained period of time if we are going to reduce the statistics and improve the outcomes of our country when it comes to the scourge that is currently, well, that has plagued us and continues to plague us. So having said that, I support the bill because it has utility in ensuring that at least those who are victims, particularly of online bullying, online abuse, can have some recourse in the law to ensure that it is stopped, or at least there are sanctions for those who persist in those kinds of behaviors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. Leader of His Majesty Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make my contribution to the bill before us and to say, as my colleagues on this side would have said before, we support this bill. We also believe, Mr. Speaker, that this bill does have some limitations, could have been expanded, could have added some value as it relates to the particular issue before us. But we accept that it's a step in the right direction, and we continue to build as we move forward. Mr. Speaker, I want to also join with those who went before me to express deepest condolences to the family of Tishiana and Alejandra and all of those who have been affected, whether directly or indirectly, by the senseless killing of these two young and promising women. Mr. Speaker, this bill before us basically seeks to expand the scope as it relates to the response to domestic violence. And of course, we have to continue to respond to the changing times, the development, the technology, and all of this. And in saying that, Mr. Speaker, to say that this is a step in the right direction and we need to press hard and press forward. That being said, I wish to, Mr. Speaker, recognize the work of those over the many years who have contributed, labored in the vineyard as it relates to domestic violence. The significant work that has been done by civil society, by organizations, Mr. Speaker, within communities, by previous administrations, and under our administration, I want to specifically reference the Spotlight Initiative. One of the initiatives, I believe, with regional and international support, that I believe would have made some significant progress. And I would want to say today that we should continue whatever work has been started there. So I know there's some proposed legislative changes, reform, consultations held during that period, and there is some work to complete the process. Mr. Speaker, I want to strongly recommend that the government continue to engage civil society to continue and to complete all of the work that has been identified under this initiative, particularly as it relates to gender-based violence. So, Mr. Speaker, where there was consultations that was not completed, I want to suggest that we urgently wrap those up. Where there were draft legislations to help protect women and girls, I want to suggest that we continue the work in that regard to speedily complete some of these processes. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to make the point, and referencing the comments made by the MP for St. Mark. Mr. Speaker, I listened to her and I did not find anything in her comments that I would say was an attack on the current administration or seeking to give the impression that the current government is not doing anything and to make any sort of comparison between past and present. So, Speaker, I agree that there are some subjects that goes beyond, way beyond political boundaries. And it's important that we respect that and we ensure we preserve as it relates to those issues such as gender-based violence or violence against women in general. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe what the member was trying to clearly communicate, and I believe clearly communicated, is that the past administration would have done quite significant work in that regard. And in some cases, the current government continues some of the work. So when reference was made by the member for St. David about parenting programs, of course, this is an initiative that continued. And government is a continuum, Mr. Speaker. We expect that the work that started should continue. So I don't believe her comments were ever meant to be an attack. As a matter of fact, no one government could complete work as it relates to this particular issue. Successive governments will have to continue to build upon any work that is done in areas such as this. You can't stop. You could never complete the process of work in this particular area. But, Mr. Speaker, there is a responsibility of any government in office at any time to lead, to provide leadership in that regard. And I believe that is what she's hinted to. The government has an obligation, just as was stated, the church, the school, the community, but I dare say that the government has an even bigger responsibility to play a collaborative role, a facilitating role, a coordinating role, a leadership role in that regard. And I just wanted to emphasize that because sometimes things said are taken out of context, not even sure sometimes if it's genuine or not. But I believe what she said is basically, as I close on that particular point, a lot was done in the past. Work continues to happen and should happen. And work will continue forever to happen in this regard. And all we are saying is, whatever you're doing, there is room to do more. No one can say, and I'm sure no one on the other side of this house would say we are satisfied, we're completely satisfied with what we're doing as it relates to this issue. And that's the point. Let us do more. And you cannot in any way, you cannot address this issue given the impression that we ought not to express what the government should do more. That's our responsibility. So you don't come here and listen to a presentation of what we believe should be done and then responds by saying we are coming with an AI-generated response. I mean, when you said that, the members said that, I thought to myself, well, if AI knows that the prosecution department has a challenge with transportation, well, AI is very intelligent. The point I'm making, Mr. Speaker, is when we stand and we make a contribution, it is our genuine response to the issue. And we expect that the government would take those suggestions, sift through them, those that you don't think make sense, that's okay, but there must be something that you think is relevant, like the suggestion that I made, that the services of the transportation could be shared. That if they don't have a vehicle to go out to do something and a vehicle is packed up, it could be shared. That was a genuine recommendation. And if you dismiss this as something that makes no sense, well, I would have a serious concern about that. Because when I made that point, it was a genuine comment. And if the court system raised and flagged this as an issue, it's in my right as a member of this House to offer a suggestion, which is what I did this morning. So, Mr. Speaker, when we speak about the Spotlight Initiative and all of this, all we are saying is continue the work that would have started. But I also endorsed the statement that was made as it relates to what I call universal responsibility. So it cannot, and I don't think anybody will ever try to give the impression that this has only to do with the role of government. No one on this side would ever make a statement like this. What we are saying is that every person has a responsibility, every human being, every organization, but government must do more, people must do more, government must lead on this. So I agree very much that we need to look far more seriously about the education of our young people, and I'm speaking particularly here of children. The Prime Minister and member for St. David's made reference to the schools and what we are teaching children in school, and I totally agree. If we have to really address this issue, we have to go to the preschools, we have to go to the daycares, and we have to ensure that we expand the programs to address these issues while we address and work with people who are marginalized, people who are vulnerable, etc. That's important too. But we have to begin to curb the problem in the root of the problem. And that is why, again, and this is not an AI-generated suggestion. This is a suggestion coming from a place when I served as Minister for Education, and we launched a national values-based education program, going to all of the schools and the churches and other organizations who are deeply involved in this process. And the whole objective behind it was to strengthen, which was referred to earlier, to strengthen values-based education. So when you finish school with an A or a 1 in mathematics or chemistry, that's great. But you must also leave school with an A in values. As a boy, how you respond to the girls when you're upset. How do you manage your emotions? So to give the impression that, you know, we're doing it all over here, not doing anything. So, Speaker, even in my personal capacity, I go to the school, I deal with children. Speaking emotional intelligence directly linked to this. Some years ago, the opposition convened a national consultation on crime. We invited the government. No government department showed up. We continued the consultation with civil society and other organizations, but we went even further, and that's why I'm saying this thing is not about them and us. This is too important. This is a national crisis. And so we went beyond that. We say you did not make it, you did not send representative. People were told, don't attend. And we still went further to take all of the reports, all of the conclusions, and we forwarded it to every member of parliament. We forwarded it to the various government ministries. And I would hope, there was no responses, Mr. Speaker. And why am I saying that? It's to do with the comment that said, well, we're here and we're just talking and we're not doing anything. Mr. Speaker, all of the recommendations, retired police officers, retired teachers, people who work at the community level, people who are involved in counseling, they were all involved. And a lot of the recommendations had to do with this very issue that we are speaking about today. I've always called, and I've said it repeatedly, I feel passionately about a national strategy that has to address the issue of crime, inclusive of gender-based violence. And I've said it over and over on behalf of the opposition, on my own personal behalf, that we are prepared at any time, that the government is prepared to develop a national strategy to address in a very serious way this issue. We are going to give our full support. So we don't view this as them and us at all, but we say and we repeat, there's a role that government has to play. Mr. Speaker, this transcends the walls of this institution. So homes, and it was said before, and I fully agree, I totally, absolutely support this. Our homes, what kind of support are we providing? What kind systems are we putting in place to provide additional? So since Jesus was a little boy, as people would say, there have been systems. We are not saying there is no system. We are saying, in light of the developments, in light of the realities, we need additional systems. And the governments that are going to come in the future must add to those systems. That's what we say. So when you look at, Mr. Speaker, what's happening at the community level, I think the one thing I disagree with that was said in the House this morning, not exact words, but we can't raise people's children for them. So, Speaker, there used to be a time in our country, and we refer to it in this way, when the community raised a child. And I want to encourage, Mr. Speaker, that in any society, there are going to be people, whether professionally or otherwise, who are not capable of playing the role that they are expected to play. So as I said, professionally and otherwise. So some people, Mr. Speaker, land into positions that they are not prepared for. They are not equipped to provide and to play the role, Mr. Speaker, that they're supposed to play. And similarly, there are some people who end up in the role of parent not being prepared. And right, if you do a survey in this room here, you would find that there are people who can associate with this, whether directly or indirectly. And there are some persons, when they land in that particular situation, they are blessed to have support. And there are others, unfortunately, who are not as blessed. So when I spoke this morning about constitutional rights, and it was taken as I have to be mentally deranged to think that the bill that came before us meant that you could just pick up somebody and send them. Come on. I was talking, Mr. Speaker, about constitutional right, and part of that is to protect citizens. Part of that has to do with fairness as it relates to how do we roll out these legislations that we are passing? How do we implement? So, Mr. Speaker, in this regard, I ask the question, same thing, I go back to the previous bill. All that I was dumbly saying is that when we pass legislation, we must make sure, whether it's the technological, whether it's the administrative, whatever it is, that the systems are there to complement and to accommodate the implementation of these legislation. What's the point? Passing laws without the system in place for those laws to be implemented. And similarly, I say this morning one thing. We must equip the police. So we're expanding this, but the question is enforcing. So it's now a crime to be doing certain things online.
Honorable
we must
MP.
now equip.
Honorable MP, did you hear the bell?
Did I hear the bell? Yes, Mr. Speaker, but my apologies. I guess I'm a little bit passionate about this. Can I have 1 minute just to wrap up? Thank you.
Go ahead.
My apologies. So, Mr. Speaker, I end by saying this. If we are passing this legislation, which I fully support, I say to us, in good faith, as I said before on the previous bill, let's push ahead quickly to put the enabling conditions in place. The training for the police, digital forensic training, for example, the equipment, etc., that is needed, so we can swiftly implement those things that we passed this morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Leader of His Majesty Opposition. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this really underscores why some people need to remain in opposition, because they tend to see better. Clearer vision, better understanding of things. But what I'm scared about, Mr. Speaker, you see, we're going back to the vehicle, we're talking about everything else. We did not stop or ordered anybody not to accept the vehicles, Mr. Speaker. We had nothing to do with that. So go back to the person who told you to give it up. Use the ones that you have and give it. Donate it. End of story. Problem solved. But Mr. Speaker, what I'm concerned about, if you continue to be less focused and you're discussing a bill and your mind here, there, and everywhere, sooner or later, you will lose your job, you know. Somebody going to take your place. Be focused. Focus on what you're doing. Strategize. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, a word to the wise is sufficient. Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend the member for St. Andrew Northeast. Brilliant presentation. And I think those types of contribution, Mr. Speaker, helps us as ministers to really understand the pros and cons of things, so that when we are deliberating, we can consider a number of different ideas and take them on board. And Mr. Speaker, it really underscores when one is not scrolling and shopping online, how they can really focus and make a decent contribution in this honorable house. Something that I must clarify, because I believe it's important, Mr. Speaker. It's very important. It was pointed out, and I really want to thank the member for drawing it to our attention. And it has to do with the definition for cohabitation, being a cohabitant. And so, rightly so pointed out the fact that it treated with, let me see if I can get it properly, so not to, yeah, it treated with a period of 5 years. Mr. Speaker, what I want to say regarding that is that there are no restrictions or limitations, a restriction or limitation on the ability to treat with domestic violence. In respect of the definition, there is no restrictions or limitation. And let me explain why. Mr. Speaker, domestic relationship is defined in the Principal Act, Cap 84, as follows. Please permit me. Domestic relationship means a relationship between two persons in any of the following ways. One, they are or were married to each other. Two, they are cohabitants or were cohabitants. Are or were cohabitants. They are the parent of a child or are persons who have or had parental responsibility. Fourthly, they are family members related by consanguinity, affinity, or adoption. 5, they would be family members related by affinity. 6, they are or were in an engagement, dating, or visiting relationship. 7, they share or shared the same house or residence. In other words, Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying here is that the definition for domestic relationship embraces all forms of relationship, including a cohabitating relationship. And so whether you're visiting or dating, the issue of domestic violence emanating from that type of relationship, happening in that relationship, is covered under the Act. Whether you are visiting for a short period of time, for just a day, or you've been cohabiting for 5 years, you are still covered. So I just wanted to clarify that so that we do not leave here thinking that there is any restriction. So, Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank the members of this Honorable House for their contribution, and I now commend the bill for consideration. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a second time. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. I think the ayes have it.
Domestic Violence Amendment Bill 2026.
You have government business?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the House resolves itself into committee of the whole House to consider this bill clause by clause. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that this Honorable House resolve itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill clause by clause. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. This Honorable House is now in committee.
Clause 2, Amendment to Section 2 of the Principal Act.
Honorable members, the question is that Clause 2 forms part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Clause 1, short title.
Honorable members, the question is that Clause 1 forms part of the bill. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. You have government business?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I beg to move that the House resumes and the Chairman of the committee reports progress on the bill.
Honorable members, the question is that the House resumes and that the Chairman of the committee reports progress on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. This Honorable House now resumes. Honorable members, I have to report that the bill was considered by a committee of the whole House and passed without amendment. Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the Chairman's report be adopted.
Honorable members, the question is that the Chairman's report be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. The Leader of government business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the third reading of the bill.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time. Honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time and passed. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Domestic Violence Amendment Bill 2026.
Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the... Sorry, just give me 1 second. Yeah.
Introduce.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move
introduce.
I beg to introduce for its first reading a bill for an act shortly entitled Trademark Amendment Bill 2026. Thank you.
A bill which seeks to amend the Trademarks Act number 1 of 2012, the Principal Act, to provide for the implementation of the protocol relating to the Madrid Agreement concerning the international registration of marks, shortly entitled Trademarks Amendment Bill 2026.
Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the relevant standing order of the House be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all the stages at this sitting. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the relevant standing order of the House be suspended to enable the bill to be taken through all stages at this sitting. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the second reading of the bill.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be read a second time. Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Trademark Amendment Bill 2026. Mr. Speaker, this bill has 4 clauses, and it seeks to amend the Trademark Act number 1 of 2012, which is the principal act, to provide for the implementation of the protocol relating to the Madrid Agreement concerning the international registration of marks adopted at Madrid on June 27, 1989, and for related matters. Clause 1, Mr. Speaker, speaks to the short title of the bill. Clause 2 seeks to amend Section 2 of the Principal Act to insert new definitions to terms relevant to the implementation of the protocol, such as international application and international registration. Clause 3, Mr. Speaker, seeks to insert a new part, which is Part 2A in the Principal Act, which contains Section 25A, 25D to 25D, so 25A, B, C, and D. In Section 25A, provides for the Madrid Protocol and the regulations under the Madrid Protocol to have the force of law within the state of Grenada. And that, Mr. Speaker, will take effect from the 15th day of March 2026. Section 25B, Mr. Speaker, provides for the international registration of marks pursuant to international application under the protocol, and 25C provides for the amendment to the protocol and modification to the regulations under the protocol to be reflected in the respective schedule to the Act by order as published in the Government Gazette. Section 25C empowers the Minister to make regulations for the purposes of giving effect to the provisions in the Act, Part 2A specifically. And Clause 4, Mr. Speaker, seeks to insert, after Section 47 in Principal Act, 2 Schedule. Schedule 1, which will set out the text of the protocol, and Schedule 2 sets out the text of the regulations under the protocol. In a nutshell, that's what it is, Mr. Speaker, and I think it's a great day for the creatives and for people who are involved in this type of business in protecting their marks and so on, for us, so that we now become part of that global network of bodies. And so I take this opportunity to commend the bill to the House for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leader of Government Business. Leader of Government Business?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, and as you recognize, it's a very, very straightforward amendment, and so we want to just commend this bill for its second reading, second and third reading.
Honourable members, the question is that the bill be read a second time. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it indeed. The ayes have it.
Trademarks Amendment Bill 2026.
The Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House resolves itself into a committee of the whole House to consider this bill clause by clause. Thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that this Honourable House resolves itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill clause by clause. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. This Honourable House is now in committee.
Clause 2, amendment of Section 2 of the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 2 forms part of the bill. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Clause 3, insertion of new Part 2A in the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 3 forms part of the bill. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Clause 4, insertion of new Schedules 1 and 2 to the Principal Act.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 4 forms part of the bill. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Clause 1, short title.
Honourable members, the question is that Clause 1 forms part of the bill. All those in favour say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I beg to move that the House resumes and that the Chairman of the committee reports progress on the bill. Thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that the House resumes and the Chairman of the committee reports progress on the bill. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. This Honourable House now resumes. Honourable members, I have to report that the bill was considered by a committee of the whole House and passed without amendment. The Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the Chairman's report be adopted.
Honourable members, the question is that the Chairman's report be adopted. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. The Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the third reading of the bill.
Honourable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time. Honourable members, the question is that the bill be read a third time and pass. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Trademarks Amendment Bill 2026.
Item 16, request for leave to move the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I humbly beg to move that the Honourable House be adjourned sine die. Thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that this Honourable House be adjourned sine die. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. This Honourable House stands adjourned sine die.